You found my name in the rain on the porch. I kept it small like a pin in a glove. Your shadow leaned on the apple crate step, and the clock in the hall would not answer us. Stay a little while, stay a little near. Your breath on my cheek like a borrowed fear. Dance me slow, paper moon lace. Hold my hand in a stranger place. Hold my hand, sweet and still we could disappear. Dance me slow and leave me here. Your collar was white, but your eyes were old, like a key in a jar with a secret hold. I heard the boards count softly our feet, and the room grew thin as a candle leaf. Stay a little while, stay a little near. Your breath on my cheek like a borrowed fear. Dance me slow, paper moon lace. Hold my hand in a stranger place. Hold my hand, sweet and still we could disappear. Dance me slow and leave me here.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's good to see you guys. Wow, what a day. What a day today. Let me say hi to everybody and then we'll talk about it. Hey, LG, good to see you. Hey, Maria. Hey, folks, Shiggles. Hey, Neat Noodle, good to see you, babe. Jonah's mom, good to see you as well. I'm used to saying good morning, and it's clearly not morning. Get together, Jen. Hey, Steph, good to see you. CRTC Archives, good to see you. Welcome in. Teacup Kraken, hey, good to see you. Hey, Sharp Family Switchblade, good to see you. All right, you guys, so what a day. What a day it was. And hello to everybody watching that's not chatting. Glad you're here too. If you guys could do me a favor real quick before we get started, and give your girl a thumbs up. Hey, give me a thumbs down either way. It's fine by me. It's your choice. You vote how you want, but I'd appreciate either one. Hey, Karen, middle of the night here in Germany, Wednesday at 3:03 a.m. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. That's some dedication, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, so today was a day. Let me tell you, today was a day for me, and today was a day for the defense. Wow. So yeah, we went, and it was difficult. It was difficult. But you guys, I don't want to talk about that with you guys I don't want to make you guys listen to that. Well, maybe I'll do a members only or something like that, because I use YouTube as an escape, and I know most people do as well. And I don't, I feel like, don't bring me down, Bruce. I don't want to do that to y'all. Like this day was hard enough. This testimony was hard enough. We don't, we'll just wait. Okay. Maybe I'll do a members only live or something, maybe at the end of the stream. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about it. I just don't want to bring you guys down. It was a difficult day. It was, but I did see that you guys, I did see the support on the community tab. And I really, really appreciate that very, very, very much. And it does warm my heart. It does. Because, it just means a lot to me that you guys take the time to come in here every day. And then when I post something like that and you guys, come in and, just show support. I appreciate it very, very much. And I appreciate that. Hey, Carolina Hurtados, good to see you. It's been a minute since you've been in the chat, but I've seen you around these streets. Always a pleasure. Aw, Teacup, we got nothing but love for you, Bendy. Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Hey, Melissa. I don't know if I said hi to you. Hey, Melissa, good to see you. Good to see you guys all. All right, so let's talk about it, okay? So on the way down, I got to catch just a tiny bit of the testimony from the first witness. And if you haven't seen it, hold on just one second. Okay. If you haven't watched it already, I appreciate it. Because I only got to listen to, I mean a very small portion. I'm talking about, I saw who the witness was, I watched her get sworn in, and then that was it. So, yeah. So I'll tell you, LG. So one time I was over at Alex Erickson's, and I forget what we were talking about specifically, probably something Letitia related. I can't remember though. And at that, I think that Sarah Boone's trial was like upcoming. And I don't know what I said. Oh, I was talking about the suitcase and how small it is. Because when I started seeing the pictures of it, I realized I had a suitcase about that size. And I just I did consider for a moment just to see what it would, not zipping it, obviously, but just to see how tight it was for George. And then I thought better of it because, that's ridiculous. But what I said was, even though it's small, I'm bendy, I can fit. And that's what happened. That's how it, then Melissa Jade was in the chat, and Melissa Jade will, she will say, you guys know how sometimes stuff just comes out of my mouth, right? And Melissa will be like, so she was in the chat and she wrote, I'm bendy 2025. And from then on, it just became bendy. It was just bendy after that. Everybody started calling me bendy. So that's how it happened. I did not get in it. No, I did not get in it. But I thought about it for just like a hot second. And then I was like, no, that's, even if I just got in and didn't close it or anything, I just thought, no, it's clear that it's too small for a human being to be in. And I don't know, but that's how it happened. So yeah. Me and Melissa used to joke all the time that she was going to make a coffee table book of the crazy crap that comes out of my mouth. Title it Shit Bendy Says. Yeah. Because how sometimes the shit just comes out of my mouth. Okay. All right. No, I did not. I didn't go through with that. And because I thought about it and I was like, this is incredibly stupid. And I don't know. At the time, I think I was, I just could not believe that Sarah Boone had the unmitigated gall, the audacity to be so flippant about it. Like, oh, he could get out anytime he wanted to. He just chose not to. What? It just, yeah. Okay. All right. So Jonah's mom says, I have a story to tell and it's going to take me more than 150 characters. I got this idea long before I got my prosthetic that I wanted to get tap shoes. I let the idea go for a while. Yesterday, ... Can't wait to read the rest. Did you get tap? Please tell me you got tap shoes. I hope you did. I think that would be amazing. I'm so proud of you, Jonah's mom. I really am. And Jonah, sweet boy. I'm telling you, Jonah's mom, if Jonah is serious, Jonah's her dog. If Jonah is serious about a YouTube channel, I would absolutely help with that YouTube channel. All right. So while we wait for Jonah's mom, hey, Soleil. Am I saying that right? That doesn't sound like right. So Soleil. Yeah, Soleil. Hey. While we wait, let's talk about who the first witness is. Soleil. Thank you. Like Soleil Moon Fry. Jen, come on. Right? All right. So Jonah's mom says, I got the idea to shop for them again, but I didn't know why. Last night, my dad messaged me that my aunt, who is in August 90 years old, passed away. I'm so sorry. My aunt was a rockette and a dance teacher. Oh, I'm so sorry, babe. That's hard. I'm sorry. But that's, I guess, did she come to you in a dream? Sometimes that happens. Hey, Brandy. Hey, Tess. Good to see you. All right. The first person to testify today for the defense is none other than Sue Clancy, Patrick Clancy's mother, Lindsay Clancy's mother-in-law. So she is the first witness. I am so excited. You're buying tap shoes. Do it. I can't wait. And send me video. I won't share it with anybody unless you tell me it's okay. But I want you to send it to me. And I think Jonah will love you tapping around. I'm so happy for you. Do it, do it, do it. All right. So it is a late stream, Shacto. I had some family business I had to attend to today. But I wanted to, I definitely wanted to talk about today. I didn't want us to miss a day. And so I said, you know what, I'm tired, but I'm going to buck up and go live. All right, so here we go. On the stand right now is Sue Clancy, Patrick's mom, Lindsay's mother-in-law, and she is the, fourth witness, I think, fifth witness for the defense. So just full disclosure, I did skip ahead. I didn't skip ahead. I've sped it up just to 1.25.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just going to ask you to speak into that microphone. Keep your voice up if you could. All right. Counselor.
Good morning.
And just tell us your name and spell it, please.
Susan Clancy, SUSAN CLANCY.
And what time do you live?
Situate.
And you're married to Chris Clancy.
Yes.
And both you and Chris are mother and father of Pat Clancy.
Correct.
And you are obviously living with and know Lindsay.
Yes.
Tell us what your relationship was with Lindsay, how you know her, and things like that.
Yeah, Lindsay married my son Patrick, and we had a very good relationship.
And did you have occasion to go to their home
Yes.
in Weymouth?
Yes, I did.
And then in Duxbury as well?
Correct.
And obviously, you and your husband were the grandparents.
On a
of the
minute.
three-
I gotta say this. Reddington, please. I don't want to tell you your business, but bro, you gotta, first of all, you gotta stop. You gotta prep your witness a little bit better than this. Okay. This poor court reporter, bless her heart. You guys have done this lady in. Okay. Shorty had to sit with her leg halfway tucked under her to get comfortable because of the shenanigans of the witness not letting you finish your question before she answers. Ma'am, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but this is not a conversation. You're giving testimony. You got to wait for the lawyer to finish asking the question. And also, I'm going to need you to stop leading your witness. Okay? This is, even I have a GED and even I know this is leading. Come on, man. This courtroom is a mess, Maria. I can't take it. I try not to look. All right, here we go.
Little kids?
Yes.
And how was your relationship with the babies?
Beautiful.
And tell us how frequently, to your memory, you were able to visit with your son, Lindsay, and of course your grandchildren.
At least a couple times a month we would see them.
At some point, oh, by the way, what do you do for work?
RN.
I'm sorry, an RN?
An RN.
And what type of any focus?
I worked in the labor and delivery room for about 38 years.
38 years in labor and delivery,
Correct.
helping women that were having babies. And
Correct.
obviously you kept up with the studies and continuing education and things.
Yes, I did.
To that extent, in your capacity as an RN for 38, well back then it would have been 35 years of experience, I think.
Yes.
It's fair to say that you, as I said, you would keep up with all of recent developments in postpartum psychosis, postpartum depression, all of that.
Somewhat, but I mainly just was in the delivery room
So
itself.
were you aware of the various positions that were in the forefront, if you will, of postpartum studies as it relates to medicine?
Yes.
And Would one of the people that you were interested in be a person by the name of Dr. Meg Spinelli?
Yes.
And can you tell us who Meg Spinelli is?
I don't really know Meg Spinelli well. We've spoken a couple of times. I believe she specializes in postpartum mental health.
And have you met with her before?
Not in person.
Okay. Did you at some point...
Reddington, are you even listening to your own witness, bro? See, this is going to be a little different. See, at the nighttime, you think I'm spicy during the day. Y'all should see me in the nighttime. I'm extra spicy. And I'm already irritated. She answered you. She already told you she's never met this lady in person. She doesn't know her that great. So are you going to, I know you got a list of questions, but for the love of Pete, at least listen to the answer your witness gives you so that you don't sound like it's your first day on your job ever.
Ask Dr. Spinelli to help out at your hospital, and I guess they call it a rounds lecture?
I asked her to bring on her experience and education in that area and share it with my colleagues.
Did she do that?
She did.
And as time went by, dealing with...
Wait a minute. Hey, Shamita, thank you for the gifted jewels. So she asked this doctor, Spinelli, to come and share her knowledge with the colleagues. And how did she not ever meet her in person? I don't understand that.
your job, your family, your son, daughter-in-law, grandchildren. Did you notice in 2022, after Calvin was born, any change in the personality, if you will, of Lindsay?
Several months after that, I did.
Would that be sometime in the fall?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors, being as close as you were with the family, well, let me back up. As a mother-in-law, did you have any observation to observe Lindsay with her kids?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors about how you saw her acting with her children as a mother?
She was very nurturing, very loving. She was a wonderful mother. Wonderful.
Did you ever see her treat her middle son, Dawson, bad because you didn't like him?
No.
Did she love Dawson, in your opinion?
She loved her children, all of them, very, very much.
And during that period of time, let's say October, November of 2022, what did you observe about Lindsay?
She reached out to me in November and told me that she felt unwell.
Did she describe any symptoms for you?
She did.
Tell the jurors what she said.
She felt, mostly she had insomnia. She was losing her appetite. She was very anxious and sad.
Well, Pen Pal John, thank you so much for the tip. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was really generous of you. Pen Pal says, I saw this whole thing today. I am not going to spoil, but I'm just going to say nod. It's a really profound moment to look forward to. Hey, listen, when it comes up, give me a heads up, would you? I'd appreciate it. Tell me when it's coming. Because Shmita, by the way, since you're here, I forgot to tell you this. I never did see the dadgum magnifying glass. I saw the Apple Watch, but I did not see a magnifying glass, just to let you know. All right, here we go.
Did she tell you that she was seeing doctors?
Yes.
And at some point, did you recommend, did she come to you and ask you for help regarding seeing a doctor?
Yeah, she asked for my support.
And you obviously gave it to her?
Yes.
And what did you do to make any recommendations for her?
I reached out to my colleagues who were running a clinic for women that were struggling postpartum.
Would that be the South Shore?
Yes, correct.
Oh, Jonah's mom, thank you so much. Thank you for gifting a membership, and congratulations, Soleil. Welcome to the ward. I hope you enjoy it here. Pen Pal John says this witness is the most truest example of humanity that I've seen through the trial so far. At this woman is in a lot of pain. I hope she finds peace. Yeah, me too. This has got to be difficult for this family. I will say, I think Patrick looks like his mom.
And at some point, as a result of your intervention, was a nurse practitioner, Julie Hall, agreeing to step in and help out?
Yes.
Did Lindsay see Julie?
I believe she did.
And you really pretty much were out of the mix at that point. You basically made the connection, knew that she was on there, right?
Correct.
Did you find that Lindsay was interested at all times in trying to get better and see doctors?
Very much so.
Did you find at all, do you have an opinion with your observations of Lindsay as to whether or not she was offered help and would just spurn it and not see doctors and not have
She was
treatment?
begging for help.
And during that period of time, you were there for her by text and by telephone and in person.
Correct.
Now, during that time that you were, let's say November and into December, the holiday season, do you recall the holidays for 2022?
Yes.
Tell us, was that a fun time for the Clancys?
Lindsay was struggling. We were all very concerned.
And you knew in January, New Year's, actually, that she ended up going
Yes.
to the McLean Hospital?
Yes.
You know that she initially got out of the McLean Hospital.
Yes.
Fair to say that you and Lindsay,
Hold on a minute. Judge Sullivan, what are you doing over there? Are you making a grocery list? Could you please instruct the witness to wait for the attorney to finish their question before answering? And could you, I know you told her to keep her voice up, but could she back up off the mic just a little bit so that we don't hear every freaking breath? I'm not trying to be, I recognize who this woman is. Okay, and that is me saying that does not take away from her being a victim and going through it at all. It's just that it's very hard. Thank you very much, Pen Pal John. That was really generous of you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I can't handle the breathing in my ear. I can handle it. I just don't want to. All right, here we go.
as I said, communicated a lot by text messaging, right?
Yes. Correct.
So I'm going to approach you with extraction report. This is a report that is done by the DA's office of the state police, Mr. Whiffen, on what's called Celebrate, where they can go into, did they examine your phone?
No.
They examine Lindsay's phone and obtain texts. Have you seen the texts?
I think so.
Okay. I'm going to approach you with the extraction report. Okay? And you can just take a look and see if your telephone number is on there, just for foundation purposes. Or if you, it is, okay. And just quickly flip through and see if you recognize those texts. We'll have to look at all of them, that's for sure. They appear to be texts between you and Lindsay? Mm-hmm. Okay. Your Honor, I'm not going to go through each and every text. What I'm going to suggest is I would offer this, and then the jurors would be able to look at what they wish.
Any objection?
Your Honor, Kamal just makes the same objection to using it.
All right, over the Kamal's objection, that may be admitted.
Thank you very much.
Kamal?
I will say this in favor of Mr. Reddington. One thing about Mr. Reddington is, at least thus far, when it's his witness, even really on cross-examination, he didn't really hem and haw too much or beat around the bush. He gets right to the point. I appreciate that about him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you indicated that you were a labor and delivery nurse for 38 years. Mm-hmm. And what hospital was that?
South Shore Hospital.
And early on in the defendant's career, did you work with her?
Briefly.
Okay. And she then went to Mass General, correct?
Yeah, she was a student at the time.
Okay. And you stated that you are aware of a doctor named Meg Spinelli, correct?
Yes.
Did you reach out to her in this case?
I don't remember exactly how she and I connected. I don't recall.
Well, you indicated that you connected with her in a professional capacity to have her come to your hospital, right?
Yes.
But as far as her role in this case with the defendant, did you reach out to her for that?
I don't think I did. I don't recall.
Now, you said that you began to notice some issues in, defense counsel said October, November, but fair to say you weren't aware of what was going on until she texted you on November 16th when she was at the emergency room?
Yes.
And that was at South Shore Hospital?
Yes.
And you actually met her there at the emergency room?
Yes.
Was she by herself or with Patrick?
She was by herself.
Did you know how she got there?
She drove.
She drove herself to the hospital?
Correct.
And she was in the emergency room for a while, correct?
I don't know how long, probably an hour, maybe 2 hours.
Well, you went down when you knew she was there, sat with her for a little bit, went back upstairs to because you were working that day, right?
Correct. I wasn't able to go down immediately. I had to wait about an hour and a half, and then I went down.
Okay. And then you sat with her for a little bit, you went back up to work, right?
Yes.
And then you came back down at some point before she was discharged.
Yes.
Counsel, can I see it sidebar just very briefly?
There's an issue, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the bailiff had gone over. I like to call him Officer Jingle Jangles because he has like the handcuffs plus a bunch of keys and stuff. And so whenever he brings the witnesses in, he jingle jangles. And so I like to call him that. That's my nickname for him.
And so, Mrs. Clancy,
I don't know what happened.
So, Mrs. Clancy, you came down to the emergency room and you sat with her for a while, correct?
Yes.
And did she tell you why she was there?
Yes.
And fair to say, she indicated to you that she was having trouble sleeping and she had some heart palpitations.
Correct.
And that's what brought her to the emergency room to get checked out?
Yes.
Did she tell you that she had consumed a weed gummy before going to the ER that day?
She did not.
Okay. And in your experience as a nurse, is that sometimes a reaction to THC or CBD or some sort of weed that somebody might have a faster heartbeat?
I don't know.
Ma'am. Okay, look here. We've all watched the movie Friday. We know what happens sometimes when the weed be too good or the gummy be too strong. Sometimes that happens. Are you telling me that this nurse went in there because she had taken is that a rookie move or what? What's happening here? It's not, but see, I've never heard of CBD. It was CBD? She did, it was not the Mary Jane. Was it CBD? No THC in it? Well, then the heart palpitations weren't caused by that. CBD doesn't do that.
Now, when she was in the emergency room, she was seen by a doctor and provided some medication. Were you there when the doctor was there?
Yes.
And you're aware that the ER doctor gave her some trazodone to help her sleep?
Yes.
Because that's what she was really concerned about, right? To sleep.
Yes.
And when she left the emergency room, did you call her an Uber or have Pat come and get her or call your husband to come get her?
No.
She left in her own car, right?
Correct.
And so fair to say, after that ER visit, you remained in pretty constant contact with her, at least via text message,
yes.
right? And that you would check in with her pretty much daily. And that's all in these texts.
Yes.
Now, you were familiar with the perinatal behavioral health clinic because of your work at Social Hospital,
yes.
correct?
Correct.
And so the person actually that you connected with first was not Julie Paul, was it?
No, it was one of the midwives that I was working with.
And her name is Nanette?
I think so.
And so did she provide you with Julie Paul's contact information?
She suggested Julie.
Okay. And as a result of the suggestion, you reached out to Julie with Lindsay's permission, right?
Yes.
And you said that at that point you made the contact, knew she had spoken to Julie, and you kind of stepped back from the clinic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're aware Julie Paul is one of the only prescribers that the defendant encountered that's not personally named in a civil lawsuit that's pending, don't you?
I'm not sure.
Hold on a minute. I'm going to have to fact check that. Maybe there are technically 2 lawsuits, but last I checked, Julie Paul was named.
So the ER visit's on the 16th. Contact is made with Julie Paul on November 20th, right?
That sounds right.
Okay. And that would have been your phone call to her first.
I don't remember exactly.
In the time period, well, you know she was going and going to see providers and meeting with Julie and going to the clinic. Did you offer to help out more with the kids?
Yes.
You were still working full-time at that time, weren't you?
Yes.
So fair to say it was kind of limited based on your schedule?
Correct.
Did you have a normal schedule that you worked at that time period?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, as a nurse, did you work day shifts? Did you work mids?
I worked the day shift.
So did you offer to watch the kids at nighttime?
I don't remember exactly.
Did the kids come to stay at your house overnight so that she could get some sleep?
No, they didn't.
fair to say you offered and she didn't want the kids to come to your house, right?
No, that's not right.
Well, were they, did they ever sleep over your house?
No, they didn't.
And Cora was 5, right?
Yes, correct. She turned 5 that December.
So at any point, they never stayed over.
We decided together it was best for them to be in their own beds at their own house with all the belongings. And Lindsay's parents were very actively involved in staying over and helping out. So it was the best decision that they stay home in their own beds.
So prior to the November of 2022, did you and your husband ever come and stay over the night so that Patrick and Lindsay could go off?
We never did stay at their house.
And as far as kind of watching the kids or taking the kids outside of the house during the daytime, did you often take Cora on kind of day trips out to lunch?
Yeah, we used to go to lunch together.
How about Dawson? Did you take him one-on-one out to?
Not as much. He was younger.
And how about Callan? Did you ever take him out of the house without Lindsay?
No.
And are you aware that Lindsay told one of the therapists that she wasn't close with you as in-laws? And that
I didn't know that, no.
That she said she doesn't generally allow the in-laws to watch her children?
I did watch the kids.
Okay, but are you aware that she told the therapist that?
No.
Are you aware she told the therapist that she didn't have any particular reason why and that they don't bug me about it either?
Okay, this is just messy AF prosecution. What does this have to? Hold on a minute. I got a cough, and I don't want to cough in your. This just messy as hell. Just messy. What does this have to do with anything? Respective to her perception, you're just trying to cause what? You're trying to make the next Thanksgiving even more awkward because she talked a little shit about her in-laws. Come on, man. Yikes on bikes. You know what, Carolina? I looked it up. I've looked it up 4 different times in 4 different ways, and they all say that she's named. She's in Lindsay's. Okay, so this is what it says. Yes, Julie Paul is a current defendant in the active medical malpractice civil lawsuit filed by Lindsay Clancy. However, her legal standing differs between the 2 separate civil cases brought by the family. Lindsay Clancy's lawsuit. Julie Paul is actively named as a defendant in Lindsay's malpractice suit. Lindsay's legal team added Paul to an amended complaint alongside several other treating mental health clinicians and health systems. CNN confirmed the litigation remains ongoing as of the August 2026 criminal trial. Also, just because I asked it once and then I asked if she was a current litigant, I think AI is getting spicy with me for questioning them. Patrick Clancy's lawsuit. Julie Paul is not a defendant in Patrick Clancy's separate wrongful death lawsuit. Patrick chose to sue the majority of Lindsay's medical providers, but left Paul off his filing. Court testimony revealed Paul was originally connected to Lindsay through a mutual friend of Patrick's mother, prompting a highly cooperative relationship during initial care. So, evidently, that is no, the way that it sounds, she's a defendant. She's actively named as a defendant in Lindsay's medical malpractice suit. Lindsay's legal team added Paul to an amended complaint alongside several others. So maybe initially she wasn't, but she is now. She is absolutely, and this is what I don't get about that. Lindsay Clancy's own attorney, Mr. Reddington, actually said when he was done with his cross-examination, which by the way was like very brief of Julie Paul, that she did a good job. So I'm very confused about this. But are you trying to prove that Lindsay had no help? Is this what you're trying to prove and simultaneously make family get-togethers even more awkward?
I didn't know any of that.
Now, Lindsay, the defendant, she communicated with you via text about her issues with sleep and the medication she was taking, right?
Yes.
And as far as the ER visit where the trazodone was prescribed, do you recall having a back and forth conversation with her about that it's okay to increase it if you weren't getting any relief?
The doctor told her that, so I repeated that.
And so you're aware that she was, in fact, increasing the dose?
I did not know that.
You know what, Pen Pal John, I gotta actually agree with you. Pen Pal John says, unpopular opinion. I kind of live for the prosecution. They are messy and unprepared, but they go hard, no shame. I gotta say, in this moment, I know there's a moment coming up. I'm aware of the moment. It was unavoidable today. No matter how I tried not to see anything that happened today, I still was scrolling shorts, which is apparently you're not safe on the shorts to scroll. If you're scrolling the shorts, you're gonna get all the things. So I'm aware. That when we get there, we'll talk about that, because I think that's very different than being messy. Now she's going through the text messages to see if she can pick up more crap. Talking.
Once she was seeing Julie Paul, did you continue to have conversations with her about how she was feeling?
Yes.
And you knew that she was taking some new medications after she saw Julie, right?
Yes.
And sorry, these pages are different than mine. At some point, after being prescribed some medication, you recall that Lindsay told you that she thought she developed a benzo dependency, correct?
I vaguely remember that.
That'd be on November 29th, where she says, I just deep down inside of me feel that I've developed a benzo dependence after just 2 weeks of using it, and I feel like no one is hearing that and addressing it, and we keep throwing different meds in the mix that aren't really addressing the real issue. Do you recall that message?
It sounds familiar.
Okay, so Steph says, do you think the state would ask her if she knew that Lindsay didn't like her so she would turn on Lindsay or something? I'll say this. There's a reason why she asked the question in the order in which she did it. You'll notice that she asked her about those text messages, right? About where Lindsay was, maybe talking a little smack, okay? And then follows it up with more text messages regarding medication, because that's what she's really after. And I think what she is hoping is that I don't think she wants her to turn on her. Here's the thing about that. So they don't want her to completely change her answer, because she's been on the record before. And so then they can impeach her, which, maybe that is what they want her to do. Maybe they do want to impeach her. Maybe they want to get her to change her answer completely and be like, I don't know what no, she didn't say that about her medication or whatever. Maybe that is the point. I don't know. But I do think they want her to have a tone when they start asking about the medication. I do.
And she asks you, you respond, so hard, I don't know what to do, so should you not use it? And she responds, I guess not, but then I don't sleep, right? Do you recall that?
I can't say for certain. It sounds right.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of specifics.
But also, hold on a minute. There is something about this not recalling a lot of specifics that does kind of not sit right with me, right? If Lindsay is reaching out, I don't know if this is a trauma thing, because what happened, it's just made everything kind of a blur at this point. I don't know, because I feel like when something like this happens and it's out of nowhere, most people start going back and going over old conversations in their mind, thinking about things that they talked about and trying to figure out where was the red flag? Where did we miss it? What, and I feel like Neat said she thinks I think they're just being petty. She said they probably are. I mean, it could be that too. I don't know.
And on November 30th,
it's not that I think it's unusual. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's unusual. I just find it interesting because so much of the defense, and she is a defense witness, is respective to what's basically what Reddington is saying is being overly medicated, not just overly medicated, the wrong medication too. And that is what caused all of this. It added to an already problematic situation. And I just find it interesting that she's not gone like back in her mind over conversations that she had with Lindsay to look and see, I don't know. And there's this too. CRTC Archive says lawyers probably prep too. If you're not sure, you say you don't remember. I mean, I get that too.
November 30th, she says, and I'm just gonna. She says, I'm not okay and I'm terrified of taking meds tonight. Do you see that in the green?
Yes.
And then your response is, why are you scared? Why happens if you don't take them? What are you afraid of? What about Ambien, right? You're actively trying to help her kind of figure out the medication.
Yes, there were a lot of medications.
Okay. You're aware she wasn't prescribed all the medications at one time, but just a lot of different combinations were kind of thrown around as options, right?
It seemed confusing.
That she's very clear and she tells you which medications she's taking, right? Ativan and Remeron.
Probably.
Okay. And then she also tells you on November 30th when you're talking about it, she says, I know they take time to reach a therapeutic level to have the desired effect, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then you respond exactly. And she tells you that she's just depressed and she thinks it was brought on by the medication, right?
I don't remember that.
Okay. Well, on November 30th at 7:52, I was never, ever this depressed. It was brought on by the medication. Did you say that or did she say that?
She probably said that.
No, you were.
Hold on a minute, prosecutor. Obviously it's Lindsay saying it because she said I. If it was Mrs. Clancy saying it, or Sue Clancy saying it, it would be you. Come on, man.
Asked about the holidays and Thanksgiving. You remember Thanksgiving? Where did you guys go for Thanksgiving?
To my daughter's house.
And do you remember telling the grand jury that during Thanksgiving things were better?
I don't recall.
Well, do you remember her saying that she said things were better? Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Okay. You were asked, what was Lindsay like during the big Thanksgiving gathering? What observations did you make? Answer, she smiled. The girls all had Thanksgiving t-shirts on that sort of matched. We took a picture. She mostly focused on the kids and interacting with the cousins and the aunts and uncles. At one point, she went off a little into the distance, and I approached and asked her how she was doing, and she said, I'm trying hard to get better. I'm still working at it. I asked about her sleep. I thought that was important, and also the fact that she lost some weight. She didn't have an appetite, and she said things were getting better.
Okay.
Now, during the holidays, you in fact took some time off of work so that you were around a little bit more, correct?
Correct.
And so when you were around a little bit more, did you spend all day, every day at their house?
No.
Fair to say you would come sometimes play with the kids, right?
Yes.
Do shopping for her.
Correct.
And then you actually went on vacation.
Yes.
You and your husband went to Aruba.
Yes.
How long were you in Aruba?
5 or 6 days, I think.
And now moving towards Christmas, you had dinner with them at their house on the 23rd, right?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember breakfast on Christmas Day?
Yes.
Was that at their house or someplace else?
Their house.
Okay. And then what did you guys do after breakfast?
We went to church.
And fair to say you've previously testified that breakfast was great
Yes.
and that church was beautiful.
Yes.
And in fact, the defendant, she told you that it was great and that she was glad she went to church that day on Christmas Day.
Yes, she did.
And then after that, you're aware they went down to Connecticut to see her family.
Right.
Now, are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Yeah, Counsel, could I see you over here?
All right. First of all, let me just do this. There's going to be some things. All right. But you'll understand when I show you them. Hold on. Where are they at? First is Cat Williams, because what in the actual F, lady? Why would you ask her that? Why would you ask her that? And also this, because why would you ask her that? What does that have to do with anything? She answered yes. So what's the next question after that? Where in the actual hell would you go after that? Why would you do that to her? You know, because let me just say this. I'm not a devout Catholic. I was raised Catholic, okay? I haven't practiced Catholicism in a very, very long time. All right? But it's not up to us to be, if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. And guess who gets to do the judging? Not me, not you. At the end time judging, the end of life judging, okay? Obviously, the jury is going to be judging. But this was ridiculous. What in the actual, why would she do that? But I want to slow it down and I want to rewind it, okay? Because I want to see her actual reaction, not a sped up reaction. So let me slow it down. I just think this was mean. I mean, is she mad at Sue Clancy? Because why? She could have called Sue Clancy. Is she mad that she's testifying for the defense and she feels that she should be testifying for the state because they're her grandchildren, and by extension that makes her I don't know. Carolina says Massachusetts is known for having lots of Catholic churches, and did she intend for the jury to hear that? But here's the thing. Okay, as a Catholic, if anybody sitting on the jury is Catholic, they already know that. So there was no reason for them to do that. Like, there's no reason for her. It was just shitty. It was wrong. It was wrong and unnecessary. All right, so we're going to rewind it because I want to see her reaction in actual time. All right.
Yes, she did.
And then after that, you're aware they went down to Connecticut to see her family.
Right.
Now, are you an active member in the Catholic Church?
Yes.
So you're aware that murder is considered a mortal sin?
Yeah, Counsel, could I see you over here?
Huh. I can't. I cannot. I mean, she did good because if she would have had a very strong reaction, it might not have, gone well. But I mean, if she would have said yes, then what would the follow-up question be? Hi guys, I see you guys coming in. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it so much. I don't understand the point of all of this. I don't. And I don't even know if Reddington got an opportunity to object, but Judge Sullivan was on it. He was on it Thursday last week when the prosecutors wanted the visitors list for Lindsay, and there was a priest on there, and he said, "No, a priest, you're not, you're not gonna bring in a priest." I wouldn't even. I mean, even though I'm not a devout Catholic,
Is you are not to consider.
I still, and as an attorney, I would not.
All right. And what that means is you are not to consider it for any reason or any purpose.
I mean, is the prosecutor a Catholic too? Are we having a Catholic off? Is this who's a better Catholic? What the fuck? What the French toast, bro?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't consider that. That's
All right.
absolute bullshit.
So you were aware, Mrs. Clancy, about the stay at McLean Hospital from January 1st to January 5th, correct?
Yes.
And did you come to the house to help with the kids during that time period?
Yes.
And fair to say, when she came home on the 5th, there was a party for Cora on the 7th.
Yes.
Did you go to the birthday party?
No.
Were you at the house much between January 7th and January 24th?
I don't remember.
Do you recall previously reporting that you hadn't been at the house?
I don't remember.
And during that time period... Hold on. I'm sorry that happened to you, Pen Pal John. I'm sorry. I'm not surprised, but I am sorry that that happened. That's wrong. You never took the kids on a day trip or for a visit?
I don't recall.
And were you aware that between January 7th and January 24th that Pat and Lindsay went to the Cape Codder with the kids?
I'm aware of that.
And that they went to the Museum of Science with the kids?
Yes.
And that Pat left Dawson and Callan home, or excuse me, left, Dawson and Callan home to go take Cora skiing. Were you aware of that?
It sounds accurate to me.
So Jonah's mom says the other grandma didn't go either. I don't care if it was a kid's party. I would have wanted my grandparents there. I'll tell you this. At this stage of the game, the age that she is, the little chicky nuggy Popeye Esquire always wants me. She tells me all the time that when she grows up, we're going to live next door to each other. And sometimes she'll say, you know what, maybe not even next door. What if she says, I'll have a room in my house. We can have bunk beds. I know there's going to be a day, right, when that changes. I know there's going to be a day when maybe she's going to have, there'll be a birthday party. She'll be too old and she won't want Granny there, but we'll always be close and we'll just do something together, just the two of us. But perhaps both sets of grandparents said, let's let Lindsay do the birthday party, and having a bunch of extra additional people, maybe they thought that would be overwhelming for her. I mean, she had just gotten out of the mental hospital. So maybe they thought it would be overwhelming, and that's why they didn't go. On the ski trip, did they ask you to come over and stay with Lindsay while she was with the other kids?
I don't remember.
And you were asked on direct examination about Lindsay going to see providers, and you said, I think she was begging for help.
right?
She was.
Did you attend any of those meetings with her therapists or doctors?
No.
So you don't know what she told the providers, right?
I don't know.
And you don't know what kind of help she asked for other than medication, do you?
No.
And do you know whether there was any other options offered to her other than McLean, like a partial hospitalization program or intensive outpatient? Were you aware of those options?
Yeah.
And do you know if she went?
She went to women and infants.
So that's the one day where Pat dropped her off and went skiing and then came back, right?
I believe so.
I have nothing further.
All right, Ms. Springton, redirect?
So she asked you about options that were available to Lindsay, correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned one of them was that she could go to the Women and Infants program in Rhode Island that specializes in perinatal and postpartum, right?
Yes.
You know that she went there, right?
Correct.
You know she was turned away because she was over-medicated, right?
Yes.
You also know that they gave her numbers to call suicide hotlines, right?
Yes.
She called twice, not once, but twice, and again was turned away. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Come on.
On that.
Uh-oh. She put her petty pants on based
So
on
you're
that.
aware she was turned away because she told you she was turned away, right?
I don't remember the details of that visit or that day.
You didn't review the records, did you?
No.
So you're not aware that they actually deferred to Pat and Lindsay reporting over medication?
I remember something being said that she wasn't a candidate for that program. That's what I recall being told by Patrick and Lindsay.
Okay. And that's because everything she described was reported connected to medication and occurred well after what's considered the postpartum period, right?
I don't know.
Well, you're a labor and delivery nurse. You know the postpartum period could be up to a year, right?
I've heard it could be longer.
But generally, it's within the first 12 weeks that you start to see some symptoms.
I don't know.
But you're aware that she was sent from women and infants with actually several options, where it included inpatient treatment for medication management, a partial hospitalization program focused on general mental health, or continued outpatient management. That's what she was sent away with.
Okay.
Nothing further.
May I? One more?
Go ahead, one.
So
Hey,
outpatient management,
Justice
that would
James,
include
good to
something
see
like gelada, right?
Hold on a second. Hey, Justice Jane, it's good to see you.
Yes.
Welcome in.
You know that Women and Infants called gelada and she never called them back?
I didn't know that.
Come on, anything on that?
No.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Let me step down. Thank you.
I saw it, the nod. Let's go back. Let me put it at regular speed so we can see it. Because Pen Pal John wanted me to see that, and I want to make sure you guys see it too. All right, here we go.
All right. All right, well, members of the jury, this is one of those stops I told you about we're going to have kind of throughout today. So I'm going to ask you to go back to the jury room, hopefully just for a short amount of time, and then we'll bring you right back in and we'll continue with the evidence. Okay?
All right, please, your next.
Melissa, I'm not going to. Why would I mute instead of pushing pause? What is wrong with me? You guys, please be patient. It was a long, hard day for me today. I saw it, Pen Pal. Melissa said, see, there's one example about the over medication. Now there are two different statements out there. That's why I was so hoping that they would bring the person from Women and Infants to testify, because I want to know exactly what was said. What was the dadgum deal there? I want to know facts on facts. I don't want Reddington's interpretation of it. I do not want the ADA's, either one of them, Buckingham or I know it starts with an S. I don't want hers either. I don't want their interpretation. I want to hear from the person who was in charge of Lindsay Clancy's intake, interview, and evaluation, and what caused that, what that person actually wrote, why they wrote it, etc. I can't. No. I need the real. I need the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I don't want anybody's interpretation. Put the witness on the stand and let's hear from them. Sprague, thank you, Harlot. Let us see the records. Let's go. Crazy mama, good to see you.
Please be seated.
All right, what's the issue?
All right, counsel, I know that the next witness is scheduled to be Dr. La Posada.
Yes.
And she will be testifying by Zoom.
That's correct.
And I think that at some point after we talk a little bit, we're going to have to take a short break just to make sure that logistically everything's all set up with the doctor and the system here. And I appreciate everybody's help technically in setting that up. And I know that the defendant has provided.
Well, I'll say this. The only reason I can think they'd be calling in Dr. La Posada is, well, first of all, she's an ER doctor, but what I recall from the Karen Reed trial was she testified extensively about John O'Keefe's body temperature. And I know that has been the subject of a lot of talk back and, chatter on the internet. And I'll say this, I think this is my opinion. Okay. I think that there are factors that occurred in Lindsay's situation, a set of circumstances that occurred that caused her body temperature by the time it was taken to be that low. For one thing, she had a spinal injury, which that will mess up body temperature regulation. She also, it's not like she was dressed weather appropriate. I mean, she was in a tank top, for fuck's sake. Okay. So that'll mess it up. But a lot of people are basing it around this 30-minute timeline. But the timeline, oh, do they? So then I should just be quiet? Maria, let me just be quiet. They addressed that today. Let me be quiet. Because I don't understand why people are having an issue, because it was longer than 30 minutes. I mean, it's not like they arrived on scene and they immediately hustled their bustles and got Lindsay into the back of the ambulance and took off. I can't. All right. I'll just be quiet then. I'll be zip it, lock it, put it in my pocket.
I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 exhibits that counsel wanted to introduce through Dr. La Posada. And so I guess, Commonwealth, have you had an opportunity to take a look at these?
Yes, and we are objecting to these
No.
items. Yeah.
All right. And so why don't we discuss those here in open court and go through
Yes,
it.
let's discuss.
And so
I
I've
agree.
had the opportunity, I saw these this morning as well. And so Commonwealth, why don't I hear the objections and then I'll hear from the defendant.
The main objection is that the drawing is inaccurate. The window well is in the wrong place, and where they have her falling and landing in slide 4 would be where the window well is actually placed in the photograph. I can pass up the photograph to the court. This is in evidence, I believe, maybe a couple times. But chalks are discretionary, but what they should not do is mislead a jury and present information that's not accurate. And
I agree. All right. Pen Pal John says, side question, Ward. I'm always curious how lawyers prepare their clients. Do you think it's too much that that defendant has perfect salon curled hair. What do you think is the strategy at trial? I'll say this, okay? If this is just my opinion, you got to be really careful in a situation like this, okay? Because you want to make sure that your client looks good, right? People judge off of looks. It's facts, just the way it is. They did a study with children, kindergartners specifically, if I remember correctly, that was their age. They had the same woman, right? Go and read the same story to the children. The woman went as she is, right? Very cute, young, bubbly, right? She goes and reads the story to the children. The other lady, then they had her dress up, okay? And basically they put like a weight suit on her and, did put a wig on, and she looked, for lack of a better word, kind of frumpy. And Red was just as bubbly, it was the same woman. She just looked different. And the children responded differently. And so I think that I don't think she's overdone. Look, as far as defendants go, I think Lindsay looks appropriate. At the end of the day, she's not coming in there with Shih Tzu hair like Lori Vallow Daybell did. Lori Daybell, I'm not going to use Vallow anymore, like Lori Daybell. Remember this? This do? Hold on, where's it at? Shout out to Wolfie. Wolfie made this for me. Let me take this off so you guys can see it better. She didn't come in looking like Samara from The Damn Ring, Letitia. Letitia didn't even brush her hair, So, I think she's dressed appropriate. I think it can go horribly wrong. And when it goes horribly wrong, you look like Lori. Yeah. Yeah. With her hot Cheeto lipstick. Yeah. And using M&Ms and Skittles for eyeshadow. She looks ridiculous. She looks like a damn Shih Tzu. Let's see. Who's California Avocado? Hi, California Avocado. What did you say? Yeah. Look at what a dirtbag Letitia Stout presented as. Yeah. She let her inner ugly completely come out. Good for her. Well played, Letitia. You freaking, yeah. Not only did Letitia come looking like Samara, all right, she was clearly dressed in Motel 6's line of outfits to wear during trials. One day she looked like she was wearing a shower curtain, another day a straight curtain, a bedspread on the next day, and a couch cover another day. It was awful. Awful. All right, here we go.
So the drawing itself is inaccurate, and so we're objecting to these slides.
Is that the Commonwealth's objection, is that the window well is in the wrong place on the drawing?
And putting aside the late disclosure and the fact that I don't know if anyone who created this is going to come in and testify that they created it and whether it's to scale or not, but the main objection is that it's inaccurate.
All right, Ms. Reddington. Thank you.
Well, Sarah, Jonah's mom said, how about the fact that Sarah Boone didn't use a comb? Look, Sarah Boone was on protest because she was denied Pop-Tarts. So she decided, I'm not going to brush my hair. I do. Maria asks, do Lindsay Clancy's parents provide her clothing? I do. I think they do. I do. I think that they bring her clothes.
Your Honor, obviously, the window well, you've got, this thing is ridiculous. There's the diagram we're talking about. The window well, you already have a copy of it, right?
I do, yeah.
The window well is depicted on the diagram, I suggest, accurately. And in fact, measurements were taken by the gentleman who did the computer animation in conjunction with information by way of medical provided by Dr. Laposada. And it shows clearly that, as Your Honor can see, that we're talking about the x-rays that are included. There are exhibits that she attaches that shows the way that she falls, how she hits her head. The Commonwealth has been suggesting that, I guess, that they are confused as to how she would have ended up the way she did. This shows the way that she landed on her head, gets the Jefferson fracture, falls back, legs are facing out from the house. She's laying
It did, Lisa. Good to see you, babe. Yeah, we just missed it. You just missed it.
in the snow. They're all depicted there. If there's an issue with the window well that's off according to the government, they could raise that on cross. They could say, well, the window well was really 6 inches to the left instead of to the right. That never struck her anyway. It's totally irrelevant.
Wait a minute. Wait. Back the milk truck up. Turn off the ignition and throw the keys out the window and keep your hands where I can see them. There's people on TikTok reenacting the window fall with Dawn soap. Have these people never taken a physical science class? And I'm not talking about a college level. Remember, I didn't go to college. I got my good enough diploma. All right. But did they never take a physical or just any science class where experiments are conducted, where if you're trying to test a theory, you have to recreate the scenario, but you have to recreate it using a Dawn soap? Are we talking about a bar of soap? Are we talking about the big a bottle of soap like you get at the grocery store? Are we talking the big ass economy size that you get from Sam's Club? Which any of those would not be. This reminds me of the time that there was a dadgum reenactment of what Chris Watts said happened in his first confession using volleyballs. Thank you, Punksy, for gifting 10 jewels. Don't be hiding. Come on out. What in the actual hell? TikTok people, what? Look here, Tickety Talks. Now listen, y'all over there acting like the wild, wild west, okay? I know that anything goes over there on the Tickety Talks, okay? But since you have decided that you're going to dip your toes into the true crime genre, I'm gonna need you to get your shit together, please. You're making us all look bad using damn Dawn dish soap. What the hell?
I think that they are useful for a jury to be able to review. I did have copies made for the jurors and the court, as well as the DAs. And Dr. Laposada has it. And then I could go through, I could go through, but you can see that we've taken the diagram, the window, where the body lands, and then to the right of it would be the actual X-ray. Dr. Laposada can compare the injuries, talk about the Jefferson fracture.
Fine. I'm going to skip this. We're just going to get to where the next witness comes in and then Dr. Laposada. But Justice Jane says that whole family. I wanted to read it the way you intended it to be read, but I appreciate you censoring it. And so I'm going to read it the way you wrote it. That whole family, Musgroves and Clancy's, have GoFundMes and civil lawsuits. It's crazy. And not one of them sit on the prosecution side for the kids. I hope the jury takes note of that. Okay. While I understand and agree that I am curious about that, right? If you want Lindsay Clancy to be convicted and her thing and her conviction to hold up on appeal, Justice Jane, you actually don't want the jury to make a note of that, take a note of that, pay attention to that at all. They cannot base their verdict on that. Okay? They can't. And if they do, guess what happens? Lindsay Clancy gets a retrial. But I understand why, what you're saying, what you mean by that, and why, and that you're frustrated. I get it. Totally get it. A lot of people, I do wonder how the family feels about, yes, Lindsay's on trial, but those kids, how do you balance that? I'm going to skip it, Jonah's mom. Don't you worry. I just thought it might be interesting for a minute, and then I decided it wasn't. So they're going to go on a break, blah, blah, blah. All right.
All right. So I think probably it makes more sense to address whatever the technological issues were on the Zoom. Maybe that could be done during the lunch period. And then we can go forward. I know the defense next witness would be, is it Dr. Condi?
Donald Condi, C-O-N-D-I-E.
And I know that we had talked about a possible voir dire in regards to Dr. Condi. Do the parties see the need for the doctor testify that, or maybe we could just hear the offer of proof or what the expectations of the testimony is, and then we
What
could.
the objection is, so.
Yeah.
Well, so the objection is that we were provided with an affidavit. The original affidavit that was provided, counsel agreed that it referred to standard of care, which is not the issue in this case. It really reflects his opinions in a civil case. So we were provided another affidavit, which appears to factually have the same numbered paragraphs and just deletes the ultimate opinion section and adds that Dr. Tofts and Nurse Chilada were aware that Lindsay was experiencing symptoms of suicidal ideation and a critically deteriorating condition while under their care and failed to take reasonable steps. So it's unclear from his affidavit what exactly he's going to testify to. Is he going to just...
I gotta say, okay, so Melissa, this is like interesting to hear from you. Again, I did see your chat. I did see you say in the side chat earlier that you're kind of maybe thinking a different way. And that I'm surprised by that, because me and you have bantered back and forth, debated this a little bit back and forth, which is, I feel unfair. Maybe what I can do, you guys, at some point is let you do an open panel. Would you guys want to do something like that where you guys come up? Because I feel like it's unfair for you to try to explain your points in 150 characters. That seems rude. But Melissa says there's a new Fundly or GoFundMe made by trial watchers for the Lindsay family too. Like 900,000 it's at now. I saw that. Also seen on the 20th, women in pink will surround the courthouse. Thank you, Punksy Laughing Disco. I appreciate that. Thank you for the jewels. I appreciate that. Carolina says, yes, thank you for so much. Thank you so much for explaining that at the war, Jen Lu. We and the defense all know Lindsay murdered her children, and so does the Commonwealth. I like to keep an open mind and see and hear all of the evidence. Yes, that is where I'm at with it. I want to see everything. And as I understand it today, there's going to be a couple of expert witnesses to testify for the defense. And I'm curious what their testimony will be.
Reiterate everything that has been presented in the records, everything that we would expect defense counsel to offer through expert testimony in the criminal responsibility era about the medication regimens that the defendant was on over the course of several months. Because if that's the case, then I would suggest that this is cumulative testimony and that it doesn't need to be.
Well, hold on a minute there, Miss ADA there. How can, if the defense hasn't put on a witness already to testify about any of the things and the items that you just brought up, then how can it be cumulative? Cumulative means that it's already occurred and it ain't even occurred yet. So how are we at the cumulative stage? Why are we what's happening here?
Presented in this manner to the
Hey Sam, good to see
But
you.
let me ask this, similar to the question I asked earlier, to a similar objection regarding cumulative. The defense hasn't put it. This is their first witness in regards to that. Wouldn't the cumulative analysis be done if there's a follow-up expert that would be addressing these areas?
potentially, but
Yeah.
that
Look at the girl over here with the good enough diploma. Look at me. Sometimes, you know what? Some days I'm smart. Today's one of those days. Tomorrow I'll probably be a complete hot mess. But today I'm smart. Yay for me. Not to toot my own horn, but toot toot.
then becomes the defense's strategic choice about whether if they're going to call Dr. Condi for this piece of it and the other experts for another piece of it. It's unclear, especially where the reports we've been provided by Dr. Spinelli and Dr. Zeisel talk about polypharmacology as part of the basis of their opinions in this case. So it's difficult to assess that, and obviously flagging it and objecting at this point based on what we know the anticipated evidence to be.
I'm skipping
So,
forward.
I started.
He went to Harvard Law School. We're just gonna do it.
Well, the Massachusetts Mental Health Center.
They're gonna put him on the stand. So let's just let's just listen to what his actual testimony is, and we'll weigh it out from there. How about that?
Was a state inpatient facility. So we had many people with either no insurance or mass health insurance. Probably at least half of the patients at any given time would have had psychosis or a major depressive disorder. Have you, in the course of your career, following through on psychosis or a major depressive disorder, had any focus or treatment on women that are either pregnant or have had little babies and they are looking for help in the postpartum period? Yes. Tell us about that. Well, starting in my residency, so in 1983, we had several patients at the Massachusetts Mental Health Center who were pregnant and were also sometimes afflicted with psychosis. We also had people who had delivered a child but were then hospitalized, sometimes with a psychotic depression or sometimes with simply suicidal ideation. And I've encountered that very frequently since then. I was for 14 years the chief medical officer of VinFen, which is a very large agency with contracts from the Department of Mental Health and the Department of Mental Retardation in Massachusetts and in Connecticut. We ran about 350 group homes, about 10 people per home, so maybe 3,500 patients. We frequently had people who were pregnant and were taking medications for psychosis. Sometimes after delivery, the severity of their psychosis would increase, so I'm fairly familiar with that phenomenon. Doctor, how many years have you actually been practicing now as a physician? I've been a licensed physician in Massachusetts since 1983. So what's that, 83, 90, 2000, 2026? Okay, about 40 years. A little more than 40 years. Okay. From 1990 through 2012, were you affiliated with forensic child psychiatry with Mass General Hospital? Yes. And were you also affiliated through 2013 with Mass General on forensic case consults in this field? Yes. All right. I'm asking, have you had occasion to make a number of presentations? We don't have to go through them, but did you make a number of presentations and working as a lecturer for various medical schools, law schools, things like that? Yes. During the time that I was at Mass Mental Health Center, I was a fellow at Harvard Medical School. What does that mean to be a fellow? It means you're a resident in a training program and you're teaching Harvard medical students things about the specialty in which you happen to be practicing. And what was the specialty that you were a fellow lecturing Harvard medical students about? First it was general psychiatry, then it was child and adolescent psychiatry, and then it was forensic psychiatry. You also have had various scientific or medical publications that you have been authored on a number of occasions, articles, is that correct? Yes. All right. Your Honor, I'd offer his CV if I could, just if as an exhibit, if that's accepted.
Come on. Okay, that may be admitted.
Thank you. Now, doctor, if you can tell me, do you know, not necessarily personally, but do you know of Lindsay Clancy? I know about the case in general, but I don't know anyone personally. Now, you have never met her, is that correct? That's correct. You've never talked to her, right? Never have. You've never evaluated her for what's called criminal responsibility, is that correct? That's correct, I have not. I consulted with you for purposes of psychopharmacology and issues like that in this case, is that right? Yes. Fair to say that we've had a number of conversations in the evening, off hours, about various medications administered to women that are pregnant or postpartum, is that right? Yes. Excuse me. Can you tell the jury, in a summary, what documentation, medical records, police reports, things of that nature on this case that you've had a chance to review? Well, I've reviewed the records of Rebecca Gelada, the nurse practitioner, Dr. Jennifer Tufts, the psychiatrist that saw Ms. Clancy. I've reviewed the Brigham and Women's Hospital records, and the women and infants records. I've reviewed the McLean records, and I might be leaving something out. You know about her background as far as her employment as a labor and delivery nurse and her family, her 3 children and her husband that she was married, right? Yes, I'm familiar with that. Okay. So if I could, Doctor, direct your attention to, let's say, the fall of 2022, end of September. Can you tell us what Lindsay's status was as far as maternity leave with work and any complaints that she had at that time regarding her mental state?
From my, excuse me. Could I get some water?
We've got some on the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Sorry, my allergies are kicking up. So from my review of the records, which would start with Dr. Tufts' records, my understanding is that Ms. Clancy was planning to go back to work as a labor and delivery nurse at Mass General. She worked, I believe, the 12 midnight to 12 a.m. shift. And she began to experience, as she had to some extent after her first 2 deliveries, some postpartum anxiety, and consulted Dr. Tufts at that time.
Now, after she had her 3rd child, Callan, was she in, would you strike that? It's fair to say she was in treatment with Dr. Tufts as a treating physician?
Yes.
Okay. And looking at your affidavit, I believe in paragraph 9, did you determine from looking at the medical records as to the time frame that Lindsay treated with Dr. Tufts?
Yes.
And what was that?
She started in the middle of September 2022, and I'm sure that her last appointment was January 23rd, 2023.
Now, did you have a chance to review Dr. Tufts' medical records?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe them for us, please?
They are somewhat sparse, and there are many checkboxes in the records, but not a great deal of sentences that describe what was done during sessions.
Were you aware that the sessions that Dr. Tufts conducted with Lindsay from September, the end of September, up through January 23rd were all televised on a computer?
Yes, they were all video.
Do you recall the medications that Dr. Tufts prescribed Lindsay?
I believe the first medication she started was Zoloft, 25 milligrams.
And what is that? Tell us what Zoloft is.
We don't need to hear all this business, right? I really wanted to hear what he was basing his opinions on. Now, for Justice Jane, where'd you go? Justice Jane said the defense wasted more of the GoFundMe on the money on this doctor. Shaking my head. He doesn't even know Lindsay. Okay, so I think from what I'm understanding, I'm not sure which GoFundMe money you're talking about, because if it's Patrick's money was never intended to go towards it, to Lindsay's defense, and not a penny did go towards it, according to Mr. Reddington. So there's that. I don't know which GoFundMe you're talking about, babe. Also, I think it's actually what he did was he's to talk about the pharmacological results. So what impacts did the medications at the doses that Lindsay was taking and prescribed, what impact would that have on her on her state of mind? So I'll skip forward. We're at 232. So I'll go to 252, you think, here?
Well, some women become anemic. Depends on how much blood loss might have occurred during birth, but there's usually some blood loss. So checking hemoglobin levels is important. The thyroid can be affected by delivery of the baby, and some women in the postpartum period develop inflammation of the thyroid. The thyroid is a very important gland that regulates many parts of the body.
Is that why many times when a competent psychiatrist is treating a patient that is postpartum after having a baby, that they might run, and I may be wrong saying it, but a thyroid test?
They would do most commonly 2 different kinds of thyroid tests. They would test for thyroid stimulating hormone, which goes up when the thyroid hormones that also can be tested for actually go down. So thyroid stimulating hormone is telling the body, make more thyroid hormone because it's not enough in the circulation.
Did Tufts...
I'll say this. Now we understand why he was asking about the thyroid.
Ever use a blood test at all in her treatment?
No, she did not.
Did Tufts ever check the thyroid levels of Lindsay Clancy at all during her treatment?
No, she did
How
not.
about gelada? Did they test any of those things?
No, Nurse Gelada did not do blood testing either.
Okay, so now, Justice Jane says her parents are paying for Reddington. That's from the GoFundMe, right? There is 800,000 on there. So no, this is the way. Okay, so I pulled up the GoFundMe page yesterday, which was just created in the last 2 days. Basically, they've already put this money out. It came from they're paying for Reddington and all of this themselves. They paid. It's already been paid. They paid with their savings. And the GoFundMe's purpose is supposed to, they want to recoup the loss of their savings. So I guess, you know, that's how it's supposed to go. So I mean, you're not like wrong if, you know, they're getting reimbursed.
Now, you made reference, Sarah, to postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. You're familiar with the DSM, what is referred to as DSM?
5TR?
Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. 5, you said TR, that would be right there, meaning technical revision.
Correct.
All right. And I'm approaching you with this and asking, you see that section there?
Yes.
And what is that section?
The bipolar and related disorder section?
What is bipolar disorder? What does that mean?
Bipolar is the newer name for what used to be called manic depressive illness. It describes an illness where people's moods go up, which is the manic phase, and then go down, which is the depressed phase. There are different categories of bipolar disorder. Bipolar 1 is the most serious. Bipolar 2 disorder also has similar fluctuations of mood, but in both cases of bipolar disorder, most people spend more time being depressed than they do being manic.
Now, just tell me, what does manic mean? What does that actually mean?
They feel usually euphoric, that they don't have...
They're up?
You're really up.
Okay.
You're extremely optimistic. You might spend a lot of money foolishly, but you wouldn't worry about that because certainly you're going to win the lottery. You can just feel it. So there can be psychotic thoughts along with bipolar mania, unreasonable expectations. Like I said, that you are destined to win the lottery, or in serious cases, you can believe that God is speaking to you and has appointed you to do some special thing in life.
How about excessive cleaning and, let's say, divesting oneself of personal property, cleaning garages, things of that nature?
There was talk in the records of an episode where Miss Clancy and her husband cleaned out the garage, but it was difficult to tell from the records whether or not that represented what we would call a hypomanic episode.
Exercise. Was there a lot of references to exercise?
Okay. Justice Jane says, and I'm going to get to you too, Jonah's mom, don't worry. I don't think any of them should make anything off the backs of these 3 murdered kids. That's my opinion, though. You know, I understand. I get why you feel like that, and I don't completely disagree. But I don't 100%. I don't disagree with that part of it, right? I don't think that. But there's part of me that says that they shouldn't make money. Like, it's wrong for them to make money because these children were murdered. If they were going to, and I haven't heard anything about what any of them intend to do, because Patrick has filed a wrongful death lawsuit. Lindsay has filed suit against her doctors for malpractice. If they were to take that money and try to help so this doesn't happen again to another woman, or to let me put it, not to another woman. So this doesn't so that another woman doesn't, if that's what happened here, right? So that another woman does not slip through the cracks with postpartum psychosis and end up taking the lives of children. Ultimately, it's the children who are the victims. Ultimately, it's the children who should be saved. but you have, if we're talking about the circumstances here, it was their mother who took their life. So that's where, like, if they were trying to do something like that to make this, to see it where, to make it where this type of situation didn't happen again. I just, I wouldn't, but as far as this GoFundMe goes, people start GoFundMes all the time, every day. And some of them are for really good intentions and really good purposes, and some of them are not. But at the end of the day, it is the people who will look at that GoFundMe page, they're either going to donate or they won't. And I just, it doesn't, I don't really have an opinion that way. You can't stop it.
There were a lot of references to exercise, and exercise can be a very useful thing.
Sure, that's one of the things that a woman postpartum may very well be prescribed to do by a doctor or a nurse practitioner like Shalata, right?
I believe that nurse practitioner Julie Paul recommended a long run at one point.
So this.
Justice Jane says, how are they helping anybody by them gaining profit off of the kids? If they took that money and they used it to enact changes in the mental health care system, if they took that money and opened up a nonprofit center that deals strictly and solely in treating women postpartum for all manner of things, right? Because there's a lot of issues that can happen when you're postpartum. Postpartum is no joke. I'm not at the point where I don't know how I feel about Lindsay, whether she was in a state of psychosis or not. But I'm just saying, if they were to do something, right, exactly. LG said they could start a nonprofit to provide resources. If they were to do something like that, that would be different, right? I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their intentions are.
There's nothing wrong with a woman going to, let's say, Kingsbury or whatever it is, or taking her kids to the local gym with a swimming pool and trying to get some exercise in the postpartum stage. That's something you would hold against her, right?
No.
Okay. Now, how about, are you aware that within a very short period of time after she had baby Callan, that she actually ran a road race?
Yes.
Is that indicative of a person that's kind of ramped up and doing these things you're talking about?
It's unusual to decide to run so soon after delivering a baby. I believe that she ran on the day that she might have delivered her last child, Callan.
That's correct. So during the month of December, in your review of the records, would you agree that her symptoms that she has related to the doctors that were there to help her, they basically increased?
Carolina says, it's wild to me how all her doctors failed to do blood work on Lindsay. At this point, I would sue them just for that alone, but that's just me. Well, to be fair, while her psychiatric providers did not do blood work, she had recent blood work, and they had those results.
Did they not?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
They
quite hear.
increased.
Yes.
And are you aware that then she went somewhere voluntarily in December?
Yes.
Where?
She went to the Mass General Emergency Room on, I believe that was in December. She had gone to the South Shore Emergency Room previously.
And did you, in the record, see that, in fact, she had gone to Women and Infants program in Rhode Island for a day?
Yes.
And are you familiar with that particular establishment? Is that supposedly helps pregnant women?
Yes, I reviewed those records as well.
And do you know why she was discharged after a day?
The records stated that they thought that she was having complications from medications more than she was suffering from postpartum issues, and therefore was not a good candidate for their program.
And this was after getting there at 8 in the morning and leaving there around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
And the records indicate, if you read them, that during that period of time, there were little group discussions and coloring sessions and things like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know that there are suicide hotlines that people are told to call, right?
Yes.
Especially if a woman is in postpartum and is experiencing these difficulties and is describing the symptomology and on all these medications, that if you feel like you're going to kill yourself, you're supposed to call a telephone number, right?
Well, it wouldn't be the advice I would give, but that was some advice that was given, yes.
And did she call, to your knowledge, from reviewing the records, the telephone?
She called the Aspire hotline, I believe, on 2 occasions.
And was she given any help by the Aspire hotline?
I believe the records say that she was told by Aspire that since she did not have a suicide plan, she did not require what's called a higher level of care, meaning an inpatient admission.
So she basically had been to Nurse Gelada. She had contacted Aspire on 2 occasions. She went to Rhode Island Hospital on a recommendation the day after she was recommended to go there, and left after not being accepted. After calling the suicide hotlines, things got to the point where she and her husband went to an emergency room. Is that right?
Yes.
And did she get treatment at the emergency room?
I believe the first time that she went to the Mass General Emergency Room, they recommended that she consider an admission at McLean, but she and her husband decided that they did not want her to go inpatient at that time.
How about the next time she went to the emergency room?
The next time she went to the emergency room, which was not very long after, she was admitted to McLean.
McLean Hospital, and that would be the locked wards for a period of about 4 days, correct?
Yes.
I know that it's very important for Mr. Reddington to continue to harp on that she was in a locked ward at McLean. But the part that he seems to, and I've noticed this, be sort of skipping over. And I do think this is an important part, and nobody's answered this question, and I'm curious if it ever will get answered. But what I can't understand is the deciding not to go when they offered her inpatient and she decided not to take it. I need to know the circumstances around that. Why did she not take inpatient? Because I do think that makes a difference. I get it, Justice Jane. You have a good evening too, babe. I get it. It's frustrating. This case is frustrating, and there's no easy answers, really. There's not. But I appreciate you being here.
In reference to the bipolar disorder that we touched upon, sir, is that something that's a consideration when you're treating, as a psychiatrist, a woman who's coming to you for help and expressing concerns about the symptoms that we've talked about?
Yes.
Why?
Well, some people with bipolar disorder, especially given the fact that depression is a prominent symptom in bipolar disorder, become suicidal and can even commit suicide. So that's a very serious possibility that has to be considered.
Did any of the nurse
Thank you, Kimmy C. I appreciate that, babe. Thank you for the jewels. High five. Thank you.
practitioners consider that as a possible diagnosis?
The records indicate that Ms. Clancy was frequently asked if she had a plan to kill herself, even after she reported having what was called passive suicidal ideation. But it was reported very, very frequently in the records.
And in reference to her treatment with nurse practitioner Gelada, did, to your knowledge, nurse practitioner Gelada consider as a secondary diagnosis or a working diagnosis the possibility of bipolar disorder?
Thank you so much, California Avocado. I appreciate that. Hiding. Super cute. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Was anything followed through on that?
I believe she discussed the possibility of a mood stabilizer, but I believe that she then ended up using Seroquel or quetiapine, which is
No, that's Seroquel and quetiapine with a Q, right?
I'm sorry?
Seroquel and quetiapine with a Q.
Quetiapine with a Q, yes.
Using the two words again. I just want to make sure it's clear.
Seroquel is the brand name. Quetiapine is the generic name.
All right. And did she, meaning Lindsay, to your knowledge in the medical records dealing with these providers, complain about the effect that Seroquel had on her?
Yes.
And what did she say? What were the symptoms and what did she feel?
Well, she often felt spacey, as if she was not her normal self. She felt, it's fairly commonly reported that she felt hungover in the morning because these medicines, that particular medicine does make people somewhat sleepy. I believe the beginning doses were described as a sleeping dose, which is a very low dose of the medication that does, in fact, help sleep to some extent.
Was the Seroquel ultimately increased to 400 milligrams a day, 200 milligrams a day? Do you recall that?
Yes, it started at 25, and
It was bumped out pretty significantly, wasn't it?
yes, 400 is a lot more than 25.
And she was complaining about the effect of the Seroquel, is that correct?
She was.
And she was complaining about the fact that she couldn't sleep. All those symptoms that we went through continued on through the month of December. After McLean, she went there for the New Year's period. I know, I'm almost there. She went to the McLean for treatment and still complained of these symptoms. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did the symptoms ever resolve themselves for Lindsay in January, if you know?
There were times when she appeared to be a little less distressed, but the symptoms were never completely resolved, no.
And did you know that she went to see Dr. Jennifer Tufts on January 9th and that she was prescribed diazepam?
Yes.
And then on the 12th, she was prescribed trazodone, 150 milligrams by Dr. Tufts.
Yes.
January 16th, 2 milligrams of diazepam by Dr. Tufts. January 16th, the same day, 10 milligrams of amitriptyline by Dr. Tufts.
Yes.
What is amitriptyline?
Amitriptyline is one of the older types of antidepressants. It's what's called a tricyclic antidepressant. It has more side effects, but one of the useful side effects in some cases is that it makes people sleepy.
Did it help her sleep?
Not really.
Now, in reference to the DSM, out of that revision, and you agree with me that they have DSM-1, DSM-2, revised, rebooted, reconsidered, DSM-3, all the way up to DSM-5 text revision, right?
Correct.
And consisting of over 1,000 pages, right?
Yes.
Is this like considered, some people say, the Bible of psychiatry, or is it like a cookbook?
I would call it a dictionary. It's a list of definitions.
If I looked under P in this dictionary, would it contain anything about postpartum psychosis for a woman?
There is one mention on page 148.
That's it.
That's it.
The rest of the world, they don't care about the DSM. They have some other
Yes.
information, right? What is that called?
The World Health Organization publishes something called the International Classification of Disease, which is now in its 11th edition. It lists postpartum psychosis as a separate entity. And that's the one that insurance companies use for billing purposes.
Right, not this.
Correct.
You familiar, sir, with the way other countries treat pregnant women in postpartum condition when they see, let me finish, when they see a doctor for medical treatment? Yes or no?
Objection.
All right, just allow that question, then we'll.
Yes.
And how does that differ from the United States of America?
Objection.
Sustain.
Go ahead.
All right. Kamal?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, I have questions. I don't understand the purpose and intent of this witness. If he is the expert witness in psychopharmacology, did you guys hear a lot of testimony about the actual medications and what effect they would have had on Lindsay Clancy? Because I didn't. I don't understand. Yeah, Melissa, babe, I see. Shouldn't there, I mean, is that not what y'all would expected? I know I'm behind. I know that this happened this morning and everybody, you guys have had a moment to process and everything. And some of you guys might know the outcome of all of this, but I'm right now, because they have passed the witness. My first and only question is, where was the testimony about the psychopharmacology in that? Listen, I don't think, I'm not shocked that that treatment around the world is better than the United States when it comes to just women's health in general, but particularly postpartum. But that's not what he was there to testify to. And so now I don't understand. What is the point? All right.
You spent some time when you first got to the stand going over your qualifications, and I think counsel now has admitted your curriculum vitae into evidence, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Your curriculum vitae.
Yes.
Is you went through that with counsel. You recall that?
Yes.
And fair to say, the majority of the entries and your experience and your presentations and your teaching and fellowships, most of which revolve around child and adolescent psychiatry, correct?
I wouldn't say the majority.
Well, where in your CV does it say that you worked with postpartum women?
It doesn't say that specifically.
Okay, so your testimony is that back in 1983 when you were at the Massachusetts, Mental Health Center, you worked with postpartum women, is that correct?
There were patients who either were pregnant while they were there or delivered and were hospitalized after that, yes.
Okay. And your involvement in this case with defense counsel, wasn't directly that he reached out to you, was it? It was that you had provided some information as it pertains to a civil lawsuit that's pending.
That's correct.
Okay. And so this affidavit that counsel's been referring to that you drafted, you've revised it for these proceedings, but fair to say you went through a series of records that didn't include anything related to this criminal case, meaning no police reports, interviews, photos from the scene. Is that fair to say?
No police reports, no photos from the scene.
So the majority of what you reviewed pertained to medical records, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you cite in your affidavit a New Yorker article for facts.
Yes.
That's where you got most of your facts, is from a New Yorker article.
No, I also spoke to Mr. Clancy.
You spoke to Mr. Clancy?
Yes.
Is that in your affidavit? Well, you have it before you. Can you point to a paragraph where you indicate that you got a report directly from Mr. Clancy?
I don't know if it's in the affidavit.
Okay.
But I did interview Mr. Clancy for 90 to 100 minutes.
Now, in relation to kind of going through the medical treatment, you indicate that the defendant reported that she was hesitant about taking medications. Do you recall that in paragraph 11?
Yes.
But you're aware that she sought out a psychiatrist, not a therapist, not a psychotherapist or a psychologist. She sought out a psychiatrist as her first contact in the postpartum period, correct?
Correct.
And psychiatrists presumably prescribe medications and don't necessarily offer psychotherapy, do they?
Well, all psychiatrists are trained to do psychotherapy to some extent at least. But yes, they can also prescribe medication.
And through the records, you learned that the defendant did have reactions to low dose of Zoloft. And your testimony is that a blood test would have helped. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
So a blood test that's about 4 or 5 months postpartum, how is that going to help prescribers?
Well, the blood test I was thinking of was you could do a level of the antidepressant in her blood, and that would tell you whether it was average, expected given the dose, or too high or too low.
And that would yield results if a person's only been taking medication for less than a week?
Yes.
But you indicate that over a period of 4 to 6 weeks is when you would expect to see a medication start to take effect, correct?
It sometimes takes that long, yes.
Now, you also spoke a little bit about Zulresso. You're aware from reviewing the records of Jennifer Tufts that she researched Zulresso and spoke about Zulresso, but never made a recommendation to the defendant that she do that injection.
Yes.
You also describe that by November 21st, that the defendant was experiencing suggesting symptoms of mania, like racing thoughts. But in fact, the criteria is not just racing thoughts, it's racing thoughts, pressured speech, correct?
There are a number of criteria that are listed, but racing thoughts is one of them, yes.
Okay. And you also list, or you identify in your affidavit, extreme insomnia, but for mania, it's not just insomnia, it's that there's insomnia with a decreased need for sleep, correct?
It can be decreased feeling that you need to sleep even if you didn't sleep for several days, but it's also true that some people feel very tired. It's not just one or the other. You're aware that the defendant denied a decreased need for sleep around that time period in November from the records, aren't you? In that period, yes.
Okay. You also indicated that in reviewing records pertaining to, I think you noted Jennifer Tufts, that her notes were a series of the record was a series of check boxes, right? That was your testimony?
There are a few sentences, but they're mostly checkboxes, yes.
And fair to say, the way in which those notes are created, there are several areas in which notes are placed at different points in those records.
There are notes at certain places, yes.
And those notes are reflective of statements that the defendant was making about her mood and how she was feeling and symptoms, correct?
Yes,
Those are all important things for a treating psychiatrist to consider when they're considering a patient's overall presentation. Is that fair to say?
yes, fair to say.
Now, you also referenced in your affidavit that the defendant had reported that she had these increased symptoms with Zoloft and didn't sleep for 48 hours after increasing the dose. Remember that in the record?
Yes, from 25 to 50.
And you didn't review any police reports to identify that there were only 7 pills missing from that bottle of sertraline, did you?
I did not review a police report, no.
So if a person takes 7 pills over 1 week period at 25 milligrams, how do they increase the dose without more pills missing from the bottle?
Well, I believe if you took 3 or 4 pills for a few days of 25, then you still would have enough pills to take 2 25s and increase the dose to 50.
Right, but if a prescription reads that if 30 are filled and only 7 are missing from the pill bottle when it's located months later, then if you've taken 7 pills, you've taken 1 pill each day, correct?
Not necessarily. I believe that she stopped taking the medication rather quickly. And I'm not sure which pill bottle you're discussing because, as you said, I didn't review a police report.
Okay. Now, you're aware that on December 15th, that the defendant and her husband reported that she was having persistent intrusive thoughts that day, correct?
Yes.
And that's the day she first presented to Mass General Hospital.
Yes.
And you're aware that Mass General Hospital is directly affiliated with McLean Hospital, right?
They are affiliated, yes.
And that she was advised to go to the inpatient program, and she chose not to go.
Yes.
From reviewing the records, did you see how Letitia Dukes, a social worker, or a mental health worker, from the South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health Clinic, had previously had discussions with the defendant about going to women and infants before her presentation to the Mass General ER on December 15th?
Yes.
And she didn't, in fact, go to that program until December 20th. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, you also mentioned in your review of the medications, lamotrigine. You recall that?
Yes.
And that was a medication that was prescribed to the defendant in December of 2022, correct?
Correct.
You're aware that she never took lamotrigine?
I believe that's what she said, yes.
Now, you also were asked, or you spoke about Seroquel. So you're familiar with the prescription, or what was prescribed of the Seroquel over the period of time from November 30th through early December, correct?
Yes.
You reviewed that. And so I think you testified on direct examination that the initial dose was a low dose, 25 milligrams.
Correct.
And you're familiar, that is a fairly common dosage, a low dose to prescribe to address some sleep issues.
It is, yes.
And you're aware that for people who are suspected or have bipolar disorder, that the levels of prescribed are generally much higher than 25 milligrams, right?
Yes, they would be.
They could range anywhere from 100 milligrams to up to, what is the range, if you know?
It would go up to 800 milligrams.
And so in this circumstance, you're aware that Rebecca Gelada had suspicions about bipolar disorder, right?
She mentions it as a distinct possibility, yes.
And without relief, she recommends titrating or going up on the Seroquel over a period of time, right?
Yes.
And you settled on a number of 400, but you know from the records that that was the goal, to titrate up to 400 milligrams. Do you know if the defendant ever took 400 milligrams?
I do not.
And you're also aware that once the defendant started reporting having symptoms and concerns about the Seroquel, that she had requested to taper off the Seroquel, correct?
Yes.
And you're aware that prior to her presentation at McLean Hospital, that Rebecca Gelada actually did send in a prescription that would allow for her to taper down.
Yes.
And when...
Hold on, before she goes, I got to do a little fair use commentary here. I got to say, I got to say. That even if you take into account this, which Harlotte O'Scara says, in one of Lindsay's digital diary notes, she said she upped the Zoloft to 50 milligrams on the 7th day. Should have been the 8th. Now I wonder if she mistakenly did it on the 6th or something. Okay. Even if you take into consideration that, if this witness is here to testify about potential negative adverse effects, psychopharmacologically, I should say, it's very difficult for the jury to understand how she can have adverse psychopharmacological effects if she wasn't taking her medication. And when the defense continues to say, or excuse me, the state continues to remind the jury that out of a bottle of 30 pills, only 7 are missing. Yes, Carolina says, wouldn't her undiagnosed bipolar cause her meds to give her the reverse effects? The thought is that when someone is undiagnosed as bipolar and they're treated using only an SSRI, no mood stabilizer, that the what happens is hypomania, rapid cycling. And so, yes, but at this point, we have not heard from a single witness who has actually diagnosed her bipolar or diagnosed her in some other way not bipolar. So and that is, I mean, the Commonwealth evidently has decided they're going to save all of their expert witnesses for their rebuttal case, which, as long as the jury hears from them, I suppose that's, fine. But at this point in the trial, we don't know what she had. But she wasn't taking the lamotrigine, and Jonah's mom said she was prescribed lamotrigine, which is a mood stabilizer. She was prescribed it, but she didn't take it. And there is no at this point in the trial, firm diagnosis of bipolar. All the diagnoses that have been submitted into evidence at this point from her medical record are all about treating generalized anxiety disorder and depression. I'm not saying she wasn't misdiagnosed, but I'm talking about just what the jury is hearing at this point. You know what? California Avocado says, I wish someone would explain what an auditory hallucination is like. Hallucination, yes. I watched a video last night and I saved it to watch later. And when we do the big recap for the week, I'm going to play it for you guys because it was very interesting. Melissa says, the math isn't mathing. 7 pills missing. That would be 2 days double and 3 days single. I'm just confused. It's all confusing. They need to, if the defense wants to get past or get over this hump of the fact that the Commonwealth has hammered it and hammered it and hammered it, and it's been very, very clear. She was prescribed 30 pills. When the pill bottles were collected, 7 were left. 5 were left, or there were 7 missing. 23 were left. There were 7 missing. Right? They need to get a witness on the stand who can testify to how that medication was taken. And the only one that can say that is Lindsay. So we're likely not going to get that. Or someone who can explain, because she's asking about it and he's giving a little pushback, but not enough.
The defendant was admitted to McLean Hospital on January 1st. She was already on a taper plan, meaning she had gone back down to approximately 100 milligrams per night.
I believe she was, yes.
And that at McLean, they further immediately started to reduce the dosage with each night.
I believe that was the plan at McLean, yes.
So the first night she was there, she went down to 75 milligrams, correct?
I believe that's correct, yes.
And then by the time she was discharged, she was at 0.
Yes, and they were talking about the amitriptyline.
Well, did she leave McLean Hospital with a prescription for amitriptyline?
I don't know if she left with a prescription, but it was discussed in the records that they recommended that.
And as of January 12th of 2023, you're aware that the only active prescriptions for the defendant were for amitriptyline, right?
Yes.
And Valium as needed and trazodone.
That sounds correct, yes.
So throughout the course of your review of the...
And I will say this, she continues to bring that to point that out. What the prescriptions were that she, the last 3 prescriptions she was prescribed. And then because I continue to remember the toxicology report and what was exactly in her system. And what's in her system is interesting. The only medication that's in her system at a therapeutic level is the Seroquel. The benzos and the trazodone were not. And that would suggest, and then none of the other psychiatric medications were in her system at all. So if we're really going to break this down and we're going to blame it on the medication, right, for the jury, there needs to be, if you're the Commonwealth, you need to explain why, even though she tried all these different cocktails of drugs, and maybe, and they weren't working for her, they did not cause a psychotic episode. If you're the defense, you need somebody to get up there and say, even though they were not detected in her system, does not necessarily mean there was none in her system, and therefore they need to explain that. But they need to explain all of this, and they're neither side. I'm not saying that either side has done a great job of explaining any of this for the jury. Not really. If ever there was a trial that was likely to actually, because people say all the time, it's going to be a hung jury, it's going to be a hung jury. Those very rarely happen. But if there was ever a trial where it was very likely that there was going to be a hung jury, this one would be it.
Records and all of the different medications that she was on from October through January. She wasn't on all the medications at the same time, correct?
No, not at the same time.
And it's fair to say she was only on maybe 3 medications at one time.
3, there might have been 4 at one point, but yes.
And she had expressed particular medications that she wished to return to, like Ativan at some point, correct?
She was quite ambivalent about Ativan and talked a great deal in the records about being worried that she was addicted to it.
But Ativan tended to work for her, correct?
It made her feel less anxious. Yes.
And she actually described that at certain points to the providers that when she felt intrusive thoughts or she had a bad experience, that she took the Ativan and the thoughts were gone. Didn't she not?
I'm not sure that she said the intrusive thoughts were gone, but she would feel less anxious when she took it.
And as far as your conversations about hallucinations and auditory hallucinations, you indicated that...
All right, to be fair, she absolutely did say that at one point. And that's why she asked that, and she should have cleared it up. She should have went to the record.
At some point, or at points, I think was your testimony, that the defendant did hear a voice. But you're aware that she never reported to Jennifer Tufts that she heard a voice?
She did not.
She never reported to Rebecca Gelada that she heard a voice, did she?
She did not.
Teacup Kraken said someone should just read all of the rare but possible side effects listed for her meds. They are pretty scary. I read them. We've talked about them many, many times. But this is the issue. And I'm not arguing with you, but this is going to be the issue for the jury. Let's put ourselves on the jury. Okay. First of all, we would not have access to that. So unless that was admitted into evidence, we're not going to be able to see that. Okay. What they're hearing over and over and over is that she was prescribed medicine A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and sometimes Q. What was she actually taking? That's where the issue is. If the defense in this case, right? I think the prosecution has proven their point that, yeah, she might have been prescribed the entire alphabet of medications, but how many was she actually taking? And how many more to the, and this is also going to be a point of contention, how many was she taking correctly as prescribed? That is going to be a point. So if you're on the defense, if you're the defense and your argument is that not just the overprescription of medications, overprescribing of medications, but the wrong medications is what caused this adverse reaction in her body, you've got to get somebody on the stand that can explain that and explain that she was actually taking the medication. See, there's also there's another element that goes along with psychosis. All right. There's what's called, it's not really self-induced. Nobody takes anything to make themselves psychotic. Right. But if you are taking, meth, for example, and you're doing it, for 13 days and you're not sleeping for 14 nights, etc. And that is drug-induced psychosis, but it's something that you did to yourself. Does that make sense? So there's that element. And if the state can prove that, yeah, okay, she was given these medications, and then complaining about them, but she wasn't taking them, and the ones she was taking, she wasn't even taking correctly, it's going to be very, very difficult for the jury. That's the problem. The defense has got to close this big ass hole with the medications. That's the issue for the jury. This is a very difficult, to me, it is a huge leap to say that just because, by all accounts, she's a good mother, but then ultimately she strangled all three of her children with exercise bands. The leap, that the reason for that is she had to have been in a state of psychosis. That's a huge leap. There are people who present every single day, mothers who present every single day as good, caring, kind mothers, and they murder their children. And they're not in a state of psychosis. Who was the mother that just recently, in the last couple of years, she had Munchausen syndrome by proxy. She kept putting salt into her child's IV, causing him to be sick. But by outside accounts, she is, a very doting, very caring, very worried mother. You see what I'm saying? That there's a huge gap that the defense and the state, first of all, the state's got to prove it was absolutely not psychosis. Okay. But the defense, they got to prove that they got to close the gap because the two things don't correlate. Her being a good mom, and because some would suggest that good moms don't murder their children. So therefore, by definition, she is no longer a good mom, right? They got to bridge the gap. It's too much of a leap to say, okay, she was a good mom by all accounts. Every day she took great care of those kids, loved those kids, arts and crafts, the whole nine, right? And then she murdered them by strangling them with exercise bands. So the only conclusion we can come up with is she had to be having an episode of psychosis, and that gap is not been closed. All right, let me get off my soapbox.
She never reported to Letitia Dukes that she heard a voice.
She did not.
And the only time she's ever said that she heard this voice was on January 24th of 2023. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
So when the district attorney asks you whether or not Lindsay, after all the symptoms that we've already gone through, told Rebecca Gelada that she heard a voice, told Dr. Tufts that she heard a voice, and denied that she heard a voice, would you agree that there are reasons that a woman would not tell the doctor or minimize their symptoms out of fear?
Yes.
What kind of fear?
Right. They would do that, Reddington, but here's your problem. Here's your problem. She also didn't tell anybody. I mean, if you want help, you want help. You cannot, if you're minimizing your symptoms, and I'm sorry to tell you, I'm sorry to say this, and I know people are going to think I'm being very harsh and very critical, but Lindsay Clancy is a nurse. She knows exactly how important reporting symptoms are. They cannot treat what they don't know about. If you go in there, if you go in to an emergency room and you're claiming and your complaint is that your big toe hurts, right? But the truth of the matter is your whole goddamn leg hurts, but you're scared to go in there and talk about the whole leg because you think that they're going to cut the whole leg off. They cannot fix what you don't tell. Nurses can be, I will not disagree here. Nurses can be the worst patients, so can doctors. But at the end of the day, if you're truly seeking help, if you really cannot stand this any longer, because guess what? Now what? Because she'll never be a nurse again. She'll never be able to practice. That's it. That's all. What's riskier? I would, if it were me, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I don't know. But nobody else reported it either. And I don't, if somebody reported to me, if my spouse reported to me that they had thoughts of harming our children, I would be taking action. I would be reporting that to someone. I would make a report. I would, because I would not take the risk. And there's an element of this too. How many times can she say she was thinking bad thoughts though? I mean, she did say it, and there should have been, but here's what she did. She did say that she was thinking bad thoughts. And when there would be follow-up questions, deeper probing questions about it, it was always related to her, that she was close to really thinking about and a self-harm. It was not when the ones that she reported to clinicians, to practitioners, it was by and large that it was surrounding her and her taking her own life.
What?
Well, in the records, it's stated that Ms. Clancy reported she was worried that her children would be taken away from her, perhaps by the Department of Children and Families, if she reported very severe symptoms. The other thing is, as a health care professional, boards of registration sometimes take a dim view of people who have been in treatment for certain psychiatric illnesses. And so she might have been concerned about her nursing license, but that's speculation.
So there are other reasons why a person may be concerned about telling healthcare providers, mandated reporters, that they're hearing voices, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that you don't have to see the proverbial unicorn in the corner to your health provider to be suffering from psychosis?
Yes, that's true.
And can you tell us, Council was asking about the symptomology, psychosis, is that something that just grinds on for day after week after month, or is that something that comes on out of nowhere very quickly?
No, overall.
It can be quite episodic.
What does that mean?
It means that an episode can start and stop, and then an interval of time goes by. It could be days, weeks, or months, and then another episode occurs.
Council asked you about bipolar disorder. the suspicions of bipolar disorder from Dr. Gelada, and then talked about the prescriptions that were prescribed. Is it, in your opinion, appropriate to prescribe a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor to a person that is bipolar?
An overrule.
It would be considered something to be done cautiously and usually with a mood stabilizer begun at the same time to prevent the possibility of making manic symptoms worse.
I just want to say you guys are all making fantastic points in the side chat. You are. And I agree with them. Here's where this is where my question comes in, right? And this, we can't really know the answer to this until we get to the point where they do the jury instructions, the charging conference. I need to, because I don't know what the jury is going to be allowed to consider. So, because Jonah's mom says, hold on, I just lost her. How can the medications work if she's not taking them? Crazy Mama says it's hard for me because I've never experienced those things, so I cannot relate. Coffee and Skeleton says, I think she was keeping that mask on, but saying what would maybe get her help, but wouldn't make her look bad to others for a little while. I don't know, just some thoughts. These are all great thoughts, but what will the jury be allowed to consider? Harlot Oscara says, when she started trying to get help, she was telling them she was afraid of having thoughts of self-harm instead of admitting that she was actually having them. That's true, but what will but the jury is going to, I don't know how much the jury is going to be allowed to consider. See, this is the problem. Let me not say problem. This is the issue when it comes to mental health and the criminal justice system. It's very, very black and white. There are no shades of gray. And all of these various definitions are going to be laid out for the jury and what they're allowed to consider. This is where I'm concerned.
Thank you, sir.
Buckingham.
So just briefly, you didn't interview the defendant, did you?
I did not.
So you don't know what she was concerned about. You're speculating.
Yes.
And for a person who's begging for help, wouldn't it be important to be honest with the providers about what you're feeling, seeing, and hearing?
It should be, but that's not always what doctors find.
Nothing further.
All right, anything further?
Okay, good.
All right, thank you, doctor. Let me step down. Thank you. Could I see
Yeah.
sidebar again, scheduling?
This is a good point. Crazy Mama says, I've never been on the fence with my feelings when kids are hurt. This is what makes this specific trial so divisive, because I've never found myself on any level confused, on the fence, at all when it's a child victim, ever. And this is where I'm torn, because what does justice look like in this case? I don't know. I really don't. All right, here they go to sidebar. Sidebar, 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 sidebar. More sidebar, some more sidebar still. Sidebar, sidebar, sidebar. How are we still at sidebar? My God. How long the hell were they at? Here we go. All right, now we're going to get to Dr. La Posada. Neat Noodle says, I just hope whatever the verdict turns out to be, it reflects what is factually correct in this case. That's so important. Let me put that back up. Neat said, I just hope whatever the verdict turns out to be, it reflects what is factually correct in this case. That's so important, because that is, yes, the jury will be allowed and instructed to be able to use their common sense. But they are instructed to use their common sense in applying the law. And they're going to have to go on facts. So some of the things that we're talking about over here in the side chat, they're not going to be allowed to consider, because those are more like feelings, not facts. Do you know what I mean? And that's where the conundrum really is in how we deal with cases like these when it comes to the criminal justice system, because it's all about facts. But we know, first of all, that when it comes to mental health and mental illness, there are a lot of shades of gray. This is going to be very, very difficult for this jury. And I am glad that even though it is hotter than the fourth layer of hell, okay, here in Texas, and it doesn't look like it's going to cool off anytime soon. It's freaking 96 degrees right now. It's bullshittery of the highest order. Anywho, I'm glad I'm not a Massachusetts resident. I would not want to be on this jury.
All right. Counsel, we all set?
Yes.
All right, ready for the jury?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
I will say that one thing that I've noticed, I have noticed a slight change in Lindsay Clancy's demeanor. Okay, which I think can be expected given what was presented by the Commonwealth during their case in chief. But Lindsay seems to be paying much more attention, looking around more. Really, I've seen her look over more at the Commonwealth table more than I have in the first weeks of this trial. I just think it's interesting. It's just something that I noticed. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything one way or the other. I'm not saying that she was faking when she was crying. We could hear those sobs. Listen, I am very familiar with all the Real Housewives franchises, okay? And I know the difference between a Real Housewife cry where they're making the noises, right? And they're kind of dabbing their eye, but you can see that Kleenex ain't getting any moisture on it, which I hate. I don't really like that word, but you know what I'm saying, right? There's no tears. Either they're faking or the Botox won't let them, right? Or the fillers, whichever one it is. But Lindsay's was, I do believe, real. It did sound guttural.
They seem to have faith in us.
And I got to say, I agree with you, Melissa. Melissa said this testimony is about the only factual thing the defense has provided. The spinal fracture, even though Miss DA threw a hissy tantrum, none of the pill questions were answered. None of us, the last witness, I don't know why that was necessary. I don't think he helped either side, really. I mean, I will say that the state, made some good points, but I don't think overall helped their case in any meaningful way. And I don't think it helped the defense's case at all. And here's why. Because the testimony that was elicited on direct is the exact same, for the most part, testimony that was elicited on cross of the actual providers who prescribed her the medications. That you don't give a serotonin, if somebody has bipolar, you wouldn't prescribe them simply as SSRI. We already knew that. That was not, he already made that point.
All right. The next witness that's going to testify is going to be testify either by Zoom or teleconference, as you can see. I just want to tell you, this witness will be under oath. and you can consider her testimony the same as if she was testifying here live.
I would just like to point out, just because I'm feeling petty in this moment, right? Dr. La Posada is giving her testimony via television, the same way that Lindsay Clancy was evaluated by Dr. Tufts. That's all I wanted to point out. Just having a petty moment.
Okay. All right. Mr. Rankin.
Yes, thank you.
May I swear her in?
Yes.
Dr. Laposado, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Counsel.
Good afternoon, Doctor. Can you hear me?
You're a little echoey, but I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just standing in the corner here so that everybody can hear you. Call us your name and spell your last name.
Dr. Elizabeth Laposada, Laposata.
And fair to say that you have some issues that require you to speak to us today by Zoom rather than appearing in person as you intended to do. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Tell us what you do for work, Doctor.
Well, I'm a medical doctor, board certified in anatomic and forensic pathology. So I have an active practice in forensic pathology where I review cases to understand how people get injured or how people die.
And how can you tell us your educational background?
Certainly. I graduated from Bucknell University in 1975.
Okay, we're going to skip this because we don't need the getting to know you questions. She's been qualified as an expert, blah, blah, blah. Let's get down to the brass tacks of all of it, okay? We're familiar with her credentials from Karen Reed. We don't need to go through it again. Also, can I please say, what is happening with the technology in the courtroom today? This Zoom meeting sounds like it's being conducted using two pieces of string, a piece of tape, and a paper clip. Sounds like it's being conducted with a potato. What the hell? This is terrible audio.
Thank you.
All set?
Yes, I think so. Thank you. Now, Doctor, first of all, you made reference to Dawson Clancy, that you had a chance to review medical records and photographs and autopsy reports on Dawson Clancy?
Yes, on Dawson, Cora, and Callan.
All three, okay. You're the children? One of the questions that I have is that of the photographs, the autopsy photographs that you
Rankin,
were...
do you want to take that? It might be just kind of confusing with that better. Then we can go back. We get back to the chart. We can do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The autopsy photographs, did you have a chance to review those, Doctor?
Yes, I did.
And in your extensive experience, have you had a chance to see autopsy photographs of young children, infants, adults, people being examined prior to an autopsy and of course during an autopsy?
Oh, yes, many, many, many.
Now, my question simply is, did you notice on the autopsy photographs of the children what, let's say, have been referred to as bruises to this jury? Are you aware of that testimony?
Yes, there were bruises consistent with active children jumping and running.
And how about medical treatment and procedure?
All right, let me just point this out right here and right now, right? I think that this is the private investigator, or maybe because he said I think Reddington said it's just him and his son. Isn't that what he said? That run the office. But I will say this, or that run the practice. But I will say this. I do think that it's interesting that because Mr. Reddington is going to go into the area of the autopsies of the children, and it's highly distressing. They are wet to Lindsay. They know that the camera is going to pan over to her, that they're sitting there to block the camera. I've seen him talk to him many times. I think that it's his PI. Let's rewind it so we can hear the important parts, because they want to clear up this bruising.
Prior to an autopsy and of course during an autopsy?
Oh, yes, many, many, many.
Now, my question simply is, did you notice on the autopsy photographs of the children what, let's say, have been referred to as bruises to this jury. Are you aware of that testimony?
Yes, there were bruises consistent with active children jumping and running.
And how about medical treatment and procedure? Did you make any observations, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to the cause, for example, on the infant's head, bruising on the head, what appears to be bruising?
Yes, on Callan, when he was in the hospital, and there are even photographs of him in the hospital, he had EKG or EEG, electroencephalogram, monitoring devices attached to his head so the doctors could follow his brain waves. And they are little round cup-like things, and so where they were attached, actually on both sides of his head, they did leave a small little brown kind of parallel mark, little lines there that were from medical treatment for monitoring his brain waves. He also had many puncture wounds and evidence of medical treatment in that way.
And did you also notice that there would appear to be, on occasion, fluid that might be mistaken for a bruise?
That's possible, yes. If there is some liquid fluid that's a little blood tinged, you can see it on the surface of the skin, and there would be something you could wipe off.
So, for example, doctor, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty on the photographs of the infant that show what you say were the couplet marks on the area of the skull, they don't come from anybody squeezing, beating, pushing, or causing any injury to that child, in your opinion. Is that correct?
No, absolutely not, no.
Doctor, you also had a chance to review the medical records of Lindsay Clancy when she went to the South Shore Hospital and then subsequently went to the Brigham and Women's Hospital. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you don't have to get into detail. We've heard it a number of times, but there were injuries to her left wrist, her right wrist, her neck. Is that correct?
Yes, there were sharp force injuries to those areas.
And in your practice as a pathologist, have you had occasion over the years and over the many cases that you have had involvement with to observe self-inflicted wounds to a person's wrist or their neck in the course of a suicide attempt?
Many times.
And can you tell the jury, to your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, as to the nature of these injuries, and are they consistent with somebody trying, in your opinion, trying to kill themselves?
Sustained.
So you would agree that there's an injury to the left wrist, injury to the right wrist, that's a sharp incised wound, is that correct?
Yes, they're cutting type wounds made by a sharp object such as a knife.
Okay. And how about the neck? Did that penetrate the fascia or did that penetrate the skin? To what degree?
Yes, there were also linear, superficial incised wounds to her neck, and there were several of them, and one or two of them went deeper. There was bleeding also from the wounds on her wrist, and there were numerous attempts at cutting the skin, which we call hesitation marks, which are a classic finding in suicide attempts. And those incisions did cut in through the skin and cut blood vessels that were under the skin. And you can also tell from looking at the photos of Lindsay taken in the hospital when she was first admitted, and also when the photograph of her bedroom, you can see there is significant bloodshed event from those cutting injuries.
Now, did she also sustain an injury to her neck from your review of the medical records?
Yes.
Can you tell us what type of injury, and if we could, and if it assists the jury with you, you can make reference to the pages of the little report in the diagrams, page 4, 5, and 6, and tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, let's see. So are we ready to look at number 4?
Sure. Yep. Start off with 4.
Okay. So
Just so
what
that's the first page that you have, so just...
Yes, that's right. Yes, page 4 is actually page 1. Yeah, so what we have here is to show you how Lindsay was injured. And I got this from the scene photographs, from all her medical history, and my knowledge and training, understanding how injuries happen to the body. So if we look at the left-hand side of this panel, we see a depiction of the back side of the house, and the top window on the second floor is open. That's where she would have put her palms down on the windowsill and put her head out and precipitated down to fall on the hard frozen ground. During her fall, head first, she had cuts on her wrists which were bleeding, and her coming head down on the side of that building would then transfer some of that blood onto the side of the building, which was found in the scene photographs. She then hits really head first as her body descends that 13 or 14 feet. And if you look at so she really did a free fall dive head first. Then if you look on the right upper two diagrams that just show a skull, this illustrates the forces then that were applied to Lindsay's head from hitting the ground and then her head bending a little bit. And what she got from that is what we call a characteristic burst fracture or a Jefferson fracture. And this is the fracture that we see with people who hit their head on, like if they've taken a dive into a swimming pool and they hit their head on the bottom. It's a classic finding in people who have energy applied to the falling head. And what it does is that it takes the first cervical vertebrae, which kind of looks like a donut, as you see up there in the middle, and it squashes it. The base of the skull then squashes that, and then like a donut, it kind of spreads it out. And she had 6 or 7 fractures of that cervical vertebrae, number 1, the ring of that. And the fractures I have pointed to there with arrows. So that is called the characteristic Jefferson fracture from hitting your head, the top of your head, in a dive first position. So you could also describe it as a bursting type fracture. But you don't get any spinal cord injury from that because the hole in the middle is pretty big. So it just crushes down on the sides and fractures the ring around the spinal cord. So that tells me immediately that she landed head first and went down the window, went down head first. Then the energy is transmitted then from her head down her vertebral body, down the bony spine. And that then fractured and compressed C1. The lower right-hand panel there puts that cervical vertebral body in the context of the rest of her skeleton. The left upper hand, we see her jaw, and then the C1 is pointed out there, and there are little springs there to indicate they were squished and compressed together and fractured.
Now, looking at the next page, which would be 5, does that assist us in looking at the illustration of the injury to the spine?
Yes, so this is after her head hits, so she gets her head first, then there is some flexion of her body, and the energy from the impact is transmitted down her vertebral column. And what that did was it crushed the number of her thoracic vertebrae or vertebrae in the chest area and actually made thoracic vertebral body T5 be compressed and move over the top of the lower vertebrae, and that is what injured her spinal cord. In the right-hand panel there, the yellow tube coming down is the spinal cord, and the thoracic vertebral 5 and 6 is pictured there, and you can see that her whole spinal column was compressed and it moved forward and out of place, causing her spinal cord injury. There were also injuries that are indicated by little red stars there, and those are fractures of the transverse processes of the cervical vertebrae. So when they were compressed, the areas where the joints are between the vertebrae were compressed and fractured those transverse processes. So she had a bending injury, and she also had a right posterior rib injury. You can see on the left-hand panel, her shoulders are also hitting the ground, and that caused a fracture of the right first rib in the back, and the flexion of her neck also damaged her thyroid gland and some of her voice box cartilages.
And if we look at panel page 6, can you tell us what we're looking at there?
Yes, this is the final resting position of Lindsay's body, as documenting all the materials I reviewed that are on the left-hand side. So she is lying down on hard, frozen ground. Her clothing is wet. She has on indoor clothing. The time that this occurred, it was dark and no sun. The temperature was in the low 30s, so she is going to be at risk of her body temperature going down, lying on that cold ground. In addition to, now that her thoracic chest spine is fractured, that has totally disrupted the thermal regulation of the bottom half of her body. So she is going to lose heat from the lower half of her body and to approach ambient temperature. So there she is lying there on the ground. Then if we go to the right side of that, this is a scene photograph showing the area where Lindsay's body landed. You can see on the right at the base area, there is some medical debris from the EMS emergency treatment. Then circled in or put in a red square is a little bit of snow that has some blood on it, which would correspond to her position lying down as we see it in the left-hand side there.
And sorry, go ahead.
Okay, then the last bit here is a X-ray of Lindsay, which was taken in early February after she had surgical stabilization of her fractured spine. So this is looking at the side of her, and you can see the hardware, which they look like little golf tees going to the left side. So this is the surgical metal hardware that was placed in her spine to open up and align her spine to try to preserve any function that was still available.
Now, doctor, when she went to the Brigham and Women's Hospital, were you reviewing the medical records and able to discern that she actually coded as a result of her injuries?
Yeah, she did. She was in spinal shock and hypothermia, and her heart did stop.
And did you observe that there were, and I quote, massive blood transfusions to treat her at Brigham and Women's?
Yeah, she lost a lot of blood around the muscles that hold the spine up because that was so damaged. So her hemoglobin and hematocrit and her red blood cell level was very low on admission.
I'm glad that she clarified exactly why Lindsay required transfusions, because I think it's important for the jury to understand, and I wanted to know this, exactly what was the cause of the blood loss resulting in needing transfusion. So now I understand, and it was because really of her spine injury. That doesn't negate or make her other injuries to her wrists and to her neck they're like no big deal, but I wanted to know exactly why she required a transfusion, and so now I understand.
And the final question I had, doctor, is as it relates to the records, it showed that she had a core body temperature of 82 degrees as opposed to 98.6, which we're accustomed to. Can you tell the jury, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, what does that mean and how did that happen? I mean, that's pretty low.
Yes, that is low. That's like, 16 degrees below normal. And so her low body temperature came from lying on the hard frozen ground, which would be 32 degrees frozen ground. She had wet clothing on, so wet clothing is going to transmit the body heat into the atmosphere quicker than dry clothing. It was indoor clothes. She didn't have a big parka on. There was no sun at that time to keep her body temperature up. The ambient or the air temperature was around 30 degrees. She has a thin body. And also, most importantly, because of that thoracic spinal cord transection, she lost the ability to control her body temperature below that level.
I'd like everybody to I'd like the record to reflect that in all of those reasons why Lindsay Clancy's core body temperature was at 82.1, none of the reasons listed are because the timeline is wrong and Patrick Clancy did this. I just want to point that out. Let the record reflect.
So that means all her blood vessels just dilate and they just lose heat to the atmosphere.
Thank you very much, Doc.
Attorney Sprague?
Thank you.
Dr. Luxon,
Yes.
you were head of the Rhode Island Office of the Chief Medical Examiner when it was cited for 10 violations and unsafe conditions, correct?
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Hold on. What? She came in hot. You were the chief medical examiner when it was cited for 10 violations of unsafe conditions. Oh my God.
Unsafe condition was a light bulb out in a hallway, a computer in a hallway, and a few other minor things. I was very happy to have the safety inspection.
Right, those were the unsafe conditions, but there were also 10 other violations, correct?
They were minimal. I don't recall now. It was 20 years ago.
You didn't treat Ms. Clancy, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't examine her yourself, correct?
Correct.
Now, you talked about a Jefferson fracture and, or a C1 burst fracture and how it can be from hitting the top of your head, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it also true that you can sustain a burst fracture by hitting the back of your head or the top of your shoulders as well?
No.
You say that she fell from 13 feet from the windowsill onto her head, the top of her head, correct? Onto the frozen ground?
Yes.
And you're saying that she fell with such force that she burst her C1 vertebrae and then broke other vertebrae in her back and broke ribs, correct?
Yes, just the force of a free-falling body. Yes.
Okay. But she had no injuries to her head, correct?
I'm sure she had bruising to her scalp under her hair.
You're sure?
She did not. She did not have a skull fracture.
Right. She didn't have a skull fracture, correct?
Yes.
She didn't have any cuts or things that needed sutures, correct?
Well, she needed sutures in the cutting wounds on her wrist.
Well, we're talking about her head right now. She didn't need any sutures on her head, correct?
Correct.
She didn't have any large dents in her head, correct?
Large dents? What do you mean?
From hitting the frozen ground head first, there were no dents or bumps or sutures required on her head, correct?
Her scalp was intact. The forces were transmitted to C1.
So through her head.
A very common finding when you go head first and hit your head.
So hitting the frozen ground, the icy frozen ground, not a bump or scratch or scrape on her top of her head. And then within her head, there was no brain bleed. There was no hemorrhaging. There was no injury into her brain itself. Nothing showed up on the CT scans, correct?
Correct. Her brain was fine. Her skull was fine. I'm sure she probably had some scalp bruising under her hair.
You're sure?
You're sure? Yikes. Carolina says, except for that had zero to do with this case, or have I missed something? You're right. However, the implication is that so when an expert witness is called to the stand, they're allowed to give their opinions, where a lay witness would not be, right? And so they're going to go straight for her credibility and the way that she conducts business on a day-to-day in her capacity as a forensic pathologist and analyzing and determining the cause and the manner of death. And she analyzed Lindsay Clancy's wounds and injuries, and basically the implication is if she can't even be trusted to run a medical examiner's office that doesn't get cited for safety violations, how can we trust her? That's what they're trying to do. It's not going to work.
Sure, because that goes along with what you're guessing at how the fall happened, correct? You can't be sure because you didn't see the head, correct? You say you're sure, but you didn't see her head.
I saw the medical records and I examined all of those. I'm sure she had some bruise on the top of her head to the backside, as I showed in my diagram number 4. I'm sure there was some bruising on her scalp under her hair, but that was not a major concern at the time she was taken into the hospital.
You keep saying you're sure there were bruises, that you're sure.
Okay, I'm going to say this right in here and right now. Obviously, Madam Prosecutor has gone to the Brennan School of Cross-Examining Witnesses, and if she brings up a dadgum ham sandwich, I quit. No, she's doing her job. She's doing what she should be doing. She's just extra. I've not seen her be this spicy before.
Sure that there was this or that that's not shown in any photographs or medical evidence. So you're not sure, are you? You're assuming.
No, I'm sure.
Okay. Let me show you some photographs here.
Excuse me. No,
let me show you. I'm asking the questions. Let me show you some photographs
okay,
here.
ahead.
Let me show you some photographs of the defendant that were taken at the hospital of her head. Show me. Do we have sharing privileges on the computer?
I mean, whatever you want, we'll do it.
Showing you here a photo of the top of the defendant's head. No.
Yes, I see that.
Cuts, no swelling, correct?
We just see her hair.
There's no blood on the white sheet, correct?
Well, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you just asked me.
There's no blood on that very white sheet, correct?
Well, I don't see what's under her head. but that's not relevant to understanding that she did fall head first.
Okay, so you're saying she fell head first from 13 feet onto hard, frozen ground and had no visible injuries to the exterior of her head?
Yes.
And you're saying that she...
Excuse me, I'm
It was a
sure
yes or
there
no
was some-
question, doctor.
Listen, hold on. Doctor, listen to the question, answer the question, and then we'll just go from there. Go ahead. Ms. Gray, if you want.
Yikes on bikes. Hold on.
What a bunch of a-holes.
Poor judge had to get in there and get in the mix. Excuse me, I'm asking the questions, which obviously it's going to come out across a lot harsher while we're watching it on the replay, because it is sped up.
Ms. Gray, if you
you.
want to re-ask that question.
Doctor, yes or no, she fell to the ground, frozen ground, and then had no apparent injury to the exterior of her head, correct?
Correct. As we
And
see there.
she fell head first to the frozen ground and not with enough force to break several vertebrae in her ribs, but did not have a skull fracture, a brain bleed, or anything else, any other type of injury to her head, correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Move to put the photographs we were just showing into evidence.
Any objection? All right, they may be admitted.
To the 282.
Doctor, in your report that you provided to defense counsel, you also talked about the strangulation of the children, correct?
I did.
And in your report, you wrote that it would have taken 5 to 10 seconds for unconsciousness to occur, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall testifying previously in State of Rhode Island versus Kimberly Fry, case number W1/2010-0413A? Do you recall testifying previously in that case?
No, I don't.
Let me refresh your memory. It was a woman who had killed her 8-year-old daughter by asphyxia, and you testified.
Oh, yes, manual strangulation, yes.
Yeah, so ring a bell?
Yes.
Okay. And so you testified back in 2011 in that case, and you were asked, if you have a very complete compression, strike that. You were asked, unconsciousness due to oxygenation can occur within 10 to 20 seconds. And you said if you have a very complete compression of the blood vessels of the neck, you can become unconscious within 10 to 20 seconds. And then you were asked, I'm just saying hypothetically, just strangulation alone is 10 to 20 seconds. And you said if it is effectively and continuously applied, like in a lateral vascular neck restraint, most times there's a struggle going on, so you can't quite get that. So in that case there, you didn't testify that it was 5 to 10 seconds. You testified that it was 10 to 20 seconds, and that if there's any struggling, it could be longer, correct?
Yes, but that case was...
Well, that was a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
All right.
Defense can follow up.
Hold on. She's answered the question, and then we'll have a redirect if counsel would like to.
Well, I don't remember
Hold on,
what
doctor.
I said.
Why don't you, doctor,
sorry.
wait for a question.
You were also asked in that same trial, doctor, the question put to you in that trial was, but once that unconsciousness set in, you agree with me that there had to have been a consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions of the chest for 2 to 3 more minutes continuously while the child was unconscious, correct? And you answered, I think that's a fair statement. And the question was, you said that before yourself, correct? And you answered yes. And then the question was, I'm asking your opinion, and you said, the question was, after Camden became unconscious, after 2 to 3 minutes of continuous application of one of those 3, and you answered correct. Is that right?
I have no memory of that. I'm sure you're reading it correctly.
Well, you have memory of your medical knowledge, correct?
Sure, I have memory of my medical knowledge.
And so at that point in time, in 2011, you testified that you would have to strangle someone 10 to 20 seconds at least to unconsciousness, and then you would have to continue to strangle them for 2 to 3 minutes for death to occur. And you said correct.
Let me just say this. I'm guessing that the entire Commonwealth of the state of Massachusetts has closed the friendship door to Dr. La Posada. None of them, no prosecutor in the entire state is going to be nice to Dr. La Posada. They're going to be snarky. Okay, good to know. Thanks.
Is that still your medical knowledge?
That's a different case. That was not ligature, that was manual.
So either way, you're talking about the compression of the neck causing a loss of oxygen and blood, correct?
I'll allow this question. Go ahead.
Yeah, there are many ways that can occur, and the way the pressure is applied is very important in understanding how long it takes to become unconscious. These are the children here were the victims of what we call ligature strangulation. The Fry case that's coming back to me a little now, that was a manual strangulation and also a body compression, which is a totally different type of asphyxia.
I mean, you were asked about
Thank you so much, Sharp Family Switchblade. I appreciate that. Happy poop. Thank you.
that in that case, and you were asked, but once unconscious has set in, you agree with me that there has to be consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions for 2 to 3 minutes more, and you answered correct. So not all three. You said either one of those could cause death after 3 minutes, correct?
Yeah, just if you could rephrase that question.
You were asked, but once unconsciousness set in, you agree with me that there had to have been consistent application of pressure, either suffocation, strangulation, or compressions of the chest for 2 to 3 minutes more continuously while they're unconscious. And you said, I think that's a fair statement. So that's what you said, correct?
No, yes, in order to become dead, brain dead, you need the physiology is that you become unconscious within 5 to 10 seconds, and then you're unconscious. But that's not dead. Then that continued constriction of the blood flow has to be still continuously applied for the brain to die.
Correct. So
that is what happens, and that's what happened to the Clancy children. The ligatures were wrapped around. They went unconscious in 5 to 10, maybe 20 seconds, probably less than 20 seconds because it was a ligature, not a manual strangulation. So it was immediately compressed, unconsciousness within 10 seconds, and then death within 5 to 10 minutes after that.
with continuous pressure, with continuous
Yes.
pressure around the neck.
Yes, because this is a ligature strangulation.
Thank you.
Not manual.
Okay, so when you're talking about ligature strangulation as opposed to manual strangulation, tell us in your mind what that means.
Well, they're very, very different. Manual strangulation means that somebody's used their hand and they've pressed either side of the neck. Okay, that the hand is manual strangulation. Strangulation means that you have stopped the blood flow that comes out of your brain, and the carotid artery continues to pump oxygenated blood into your brain, but it can't drain out through the jugular veins. So with continuous pressure, then the blood can't get in because it can't flow out. It's kind of like stopping up a pipe. And then so you go unconscious within 5 to 10 seconds, but then with continued pressure, your brain dies. So the difference between manual and ligature is that manual can be kind of an off and on thing. You may you have a jugular vein on either side of your neck. So if you're using a hand, you might compress one greater than the other. You might let go. The person that you're trying to strangle may struggle and remove your hand a little bit. So it's a very different sequence of events to end up with brain death and asphyxia. Whereas wrapping a round loop resistance band, which is a ligature, immediately compresses those vessels. There's no coming off. There's no putting back on. So it's a very complete, one-time, immediate, non-varying compression with those exercise bands ligature, which causes unconsciousness effectively within 4 to 10 seconds.
What she's saying, which this would be very much, let me just simplify the irony of me ever simplifying testimony. What she's saying is, when you strangle somebody with your hands, it is difficult to apply a consistent, equal amount of compression, which is why it takes longer. Whereas if you use a ligature, you can achieve equal, consistent pressure. So therefore, it takes less time.
And in reference to the manual strangulation, where generally somebody would use their hands and perhaps press with their thumbs, that has a very common that you see many times, fracture of what's called the hyoid bone, correct?
Yes, that can happen. Absolutely. A little U-shaped bone up underneath the jaw. So they both cause, brain death from lack of oxygen to the brain, but the way they get there, that's leading up to that, is a totally different pathophysiologic process.
So when counsel went through the Rhode Island case, whatever that name was, and was reading from a transcript and asking you questions about the time that a person through manual strangulation, and then she made reference to suffocation, she made reference to strangulation, she made reference to compression of the chest. That has nothing to do, in your opinion, with the ligature strangulation. Is that correct?
It's a totally different mechanism of injury.
Thank you.
Right.
Doctor, as you said a few moments ago, the ligature causes unconsciousness, and then the pressure has to continuously be applied for several minutes to cause death, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Anything further?
One other question. On the ligature, doctor, and we discussed this, is the ligature, does that require a person to stand over the body and continuously apply pressure to the ligature, or walk away leaving the ligature?
No, in this case, these were elastic round loops, that were put around, somewhat tightly, pinching the skin. You could see little lines where the skin was pinched, and it just stays there. So it's a immediate compression of those tubular veins, staying there, and then death occurs minutes later.
Thank you.
Doctor, did you see these exercise bands?
Yes.
And you know that they're one long line with a handle on each end, correct?
Right, and they're round. They're a cylinder.
Right.
They're not like a flat band.
And you know they were wrapped around each child's neck and pulled to strangle them, correct?
Well, they were wrapped several times, firmly enough around the neck to close off the jugular veins.
And you're not aware, there's been no testimony, no evidence, nothing showing that they were knotted and left there, correct?
Uh-oh.
They weren't tied in a knot and left around their necks, according to any of the evidence, correct?
The important part to me was they were wrapped several times, and then whether it had a bow or a knot would not really be important. It was secure and wrapped around the neck several times. I can tell that from the appearance of the skin on the neck that goes up.
Uh-oh. Sprague has had enough. She said, let me just bust out, let me bring the receipts.
Showing you the band, doctor. Wrapped around the child's neck several times and then left there. I guess you can't see it from where you are, but it just fell apart. It didn't stay in a circle.
Yeah, I sort of saw what you did, so.
What was that?
I said, I saw that.
You saw it. So it was left there and it fell apart, correct?
Yeah, what you just did, sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you, doctor. All right.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Can I see you just for a second?
Oh my, that was very spicy. Is this the infamous Dr. Zizels? Is that who's next?
All right. Jury. All right. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Hi, Mr. Bennington.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. Tell us your name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Good afternoon. Paul Zeisel.
Hold on, before we get into Paul Zeisel, I'll say this. I don't like demonstrations like that because it's not the exact same thing. If there's nothing in between it of the wrapping, right? That's not like considered a scientific experiment on any level. All right. But what I think what they're trying to, I think what the Commonwealth is trying to say is this wasn't quick for those kids. Not as quick as she's trying to testify to. And that at any point, their thought is, at any point, she could have stopped. He did say he had to untie them. He did say that. You're right, Melissa. I'm looking for Jonah's mom. Oh, I did it. While this monkey business has been going on, I ordered my tap shoes. I'm so glad. I can't wait.
ZEICEL.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist.
And briefly, what's the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist?
A psychiatrist goes to 4 years of medical school and does a residency in a specific field in medicine. A psychologist goes to graduate school, generally 4 years, and gets a PhD or a PsyD, Doctor of Psychology, in psychology. The difference in terms of clinical practice, psychologists are trained very extensively in counseling, testing, interpretation of testing, and that then continues to various treatment modalities, working with children, adolescents, couples, families, and it can extend beyond that. Neuropsych testing, issues of guardianship, child custody cases, and there are many variants in that. So psychologists are in the domain of treatment, testing, and evaluation of mental health conditions.
Can psychologists prescribe medication?
Generally no, but the Department of Defense will allow psychologists in the military and overseas to sometimes prescribe medication, but 99% of psychologists do not have prescription privileges.
As far as the testing that you referenced, what is it you referring to regarding testing?
So there's testing across various domains. If a person comes in with, let's say, concerns about intellectual functioning for a child, they would have a school psychologist or educational psychologist who would do testing on cognitive levels of functioning, or neuropsych testing, or testing that deals with issues of ADD, attention deficit disorder, or ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. There's other testing that would include, for example, forensic testing. That's the integration of mental health and the law. That requires a psychologist to know about the different types of forensic testing issues that might be there. So this would often be things that would be pertaining to deception, malingering, personality assessment, and sometimes sociopathy, or what's known in the DSM-5-TR, which you've heard about, antisocial personality disorder. In addition, as I briefly mentioned, guardianship, conservatorship, custody issues with parenting, risk assessments for certain jobs that individuals might have, working for government and top secret positions, police officers, military as well.
So, for example, some of the testing, what is the MMPI?
So, yes, it's called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, and there are various iterations. There's MMPI 3, there's the RF. Some are focused on forensic assessment. It is a test that has been around since the 1940s that was originally used to determine a sample the size of white men going into the military who would be good leaders. Today, the sample is based on a much more diversified population, including women and different racial ethnicities, and it's divided into two parts. One part has what we call a validity and reliability scale and a lie scale. Validity.
The lie scale, is that also referred to as the K scale?
Yes, it could be considered part of the K scale, and it's whether someone is being dishonest with the test, but it will change slightly because people on some tests, psychological tests, will want to come across as faking good. Some people will want to come across as faking bad. Faking good would be a mother whose children were taken away. She would like to get them back, so she wants to come across as the healthiest person there is. Conversely, faking bad is someone seeking a, let's say, a workman's compensation claim, and they may have a tendency to exaggerate the nature of their injuries.
So in this case, for example, forget about workman's comp. Let's talk about a murder charge. If a defendant submits to a psychological test, such as the MMPI, and the interpretation by a psychologist of the results of that test, if the person wanted to pretend that they were suffering from a disease or defect, would that test ostensibly be able to tell the psychologist that?
Yes.
Was it MMPI administered by the government's doctors on this case to Lindsay?
Yes.
Did that have a K scale as to whether or not she was lying or exaggerating or malingering or trying to fake that she had some disease or defect?
Yes, it had a K scale.
And what were the results of the government's doctors' test on the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality as it relates to the K scale?
Objection.
Yeah, can I see counsel over here?
Why is he asking him what the state's results are? Why don't you ask him what his results are?
Regarding the MMPI, was
That evaluation, your opinion, Lindsay Clancy, as we say, lead you a little bit. Yes or no answers would be fine. Were you aware that a test was administered by the government's doctor, I think it was Dr. Helbrin, to Lindsay Clancy in the course of the government's evaluation?
yes,
And did you consider the results and the interpretation of that test as part of your opinion for this jury?
yes,
And to that extent, as you discuss whether or not somebody is faking or somebody is exaggerating, do you have an opinion based upon your review of the discovery in the case to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether or not Lindsay Clancy, in the course of that evaluation, was malingering or lying or exaggerating?
yes, I do.
Tell the jury.
My opinion in the testing of Ms. Clancy regarding the MMPI was that
Objection.
Just the doctor, your opinion, doctor.
she was not faking. There was no evidence of any malingering. She presented as an honest citizen.
Okay. Now, regarding your background, I may have jumped the gun. Tell us briefly what your educational background is.
I have a bachelor's degree from Queens College. I have been licensed for and mental health and
Colleges. In other words, your experience.
like Commonwealth, exception very small colleges for work and colleges or assisting violate their within with about 100 hours get on February 3rd, 2023. It was
Tell the jury when that was.
I received a phone call from Attorney Reddington.
Okay. Now we're getting, sorry. I'm sorry I did that. Well, I should have paused it, but it's because there's a delay in the closed captions. It's hard for me. It makes it harder. So sorry about your ears.
Late in the evening on February 3rd, 2023. It was late because I was already in bed sleeping and the phone rang. It was about 11:30.
And without getting into the details, did I advise you that I was representing a young woman by the name of Lindsay Clancy and that she was severely injured and she was in a hospital?
Yes.
As a result of that, what did you do?
That next morning, I went to Brigham and Women's Hospital, went to the front desk where one would normally check in, and there was a woman there who I felt was a volunteer. I explained who I was. I explained that I was asked by Attorney Reddington to evaluate Ms. Clancy on the surgical ICU unit.
Were you able to access her to speak to her?
Eventually, yes.
And when you say eventually, what's the time frame we're talking?
I was initially told I couldn't go. I had to wait 30 minutes. Attorney Reddington called the chief counsel of the hospital to enable me to have access to the unit where Ms. Clancy was staying.
When was it that you were able to get into the unit to see her?
12:30 in the afternoon.
What day?
February 4th.
So it would be January 24th, 7, so this is almost
11 days
later, right?
Yes,
You're also aware that I needed a court order to get you into the hospital.
that's correct.
And were you able to ultimately get in the hospital, go to the surgical unit, and meet with Lindsay?
Yes,
Jurors have had a chance to look at photographs of her laying in the bed with tubes and wires and all of that. Is that what she looked like when you first saw her?
yes. However, she was also with her right arm, as I recall, shackled to the bed with handcuffs.
So did that little soft little things that tie her hands to the side of the bed with the handcuffs?
They weren't soft. They were regular, but appeared to be metal handcuffs that police officers and perhaps officers in this court use for detaining people and arresting people. They were not soft.
While she's laying in the bed, did she have the tubes and the wires for treatment in the emergency, the intensive care unit, I should say?
Yes,
Was she intubated at that point, if you recall?
she was not.
I would like to point out that there does seem to be discrepancy in the handcuffs, whether they were soft restraints or metal restraints. But I also like the record to reflect that there are women who are in prison while they are pregnant and they give birth handcuffed to beds.
So she was able to speak.
Yes,
Was she able to move? Obviously, she's chained to the bed, so she couldn't get up.
she could not get up. She couldn't move below her sternum, the chest bone.
At that point, had you and I met and talked about this case at all?
No.
What was the reason I asked you to go to the hospital?
You are worried about her mental health, given the significant event that had just taken place a few days earlier. You were concerned that she had absolutely no ability to have visitors. Visitors were not permitted to meet with her from family members to friends to a priest. No one was able to see her.
So as a result of that conversation we had, you went to the hospital, went into her room, and you were able to speak to her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors, if you recall, what type of law enforcement presence? Uniform cops, guns, stuff like that. What did you notice?
I noticed literally outside of her hospital room were 2 state troopers in their blue uniforms, sitting each in a chair on either side of the doorway to Ms. Clancy's room, with a nurse sitting in the corner of her room.
When you went in to see her on that date, was it your understanding she had recently been extubated? In other words, they removed the tube from her mouth?
Yes.
And do you recall the conversation that you had with Lindsay at that time?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jurors what your memory is.
The conversation I had with Ms. Clancy at that time was one where I asked if she knew where she was. So I did what's called a mental status exam, a brief mental status exam. It's orientation to time, place, location. She didn't know where she was. Wasn't quite sure what time it was. She knew who she was. And she told me that she remembers what happened, but it was very fuzzy and foggy. At the time, she had been on medication for the significant pain post-surgery while in that hospital room.
And during the course of that interview with her, did she express any concern to you about her husband, Patrick?
Yes, she did.
Tell the jurors what she indicated to you.
She said, since 11 days prior to my meeting with her, which would have been January 24th, 2023, she had no contact with Patrick. She wanted to know how he was doing. She wanted to know if she could call him and find out where things are with her and with him and how he was faring, and to just speak with him.
She expressed concern about her family.
Yes, she did.
Did she express concern about what had happened?
Yes.
Did she ask you, or did you offer to her the ability to speak to her husband, Patrick?
She asked me if she could use my cell phone to call her husband.
Did she do that?
Yes, she did.
Did you hear the conversation?
Yes, I told her we'd call. It would have to be on speakerphone.
And tell us about that conversation.
So that first phone call, I believe on the 24th, he did not pick up. She left a message. I did not leave a message. We then called back 2 days later on the 6th.
And after the 2 days had transpired and the call was made on the 6th, did she have a chance to talk to Patrick?
Yes.
Were you there?
Yes.
Was she still chained to the bed?
Yes.
Were the cops still outside the room?
Yes, not in blues. They were in civilian clothing, jeans, flannel shirts.
And tell us what she said to Patrick in your presence on the speakerphone at that point.
She had told Patrick that she loved him very much. She was unable to express a lot of emotion, but she expressed love for him. And she had said that she heard a male voice ordering her, telling her that she didn't have any choice, but she had to kill her children and then kill herself.
Now, Doctor, have in mind your background, your career, Did you tell Lindsay Clancy to lie or make that up and pretend that she was hearing voices?
No.
Do you have any conversation or any suggestions to her at all that she should say she heard voices or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Why did you let her call her husband on your cell phone?
I let her call her husband out of human compassion.
As time went by, did I then, oh, by the way, you've testified for me on other matters, have you not?
Yes.
We go back about 20 years?
Yes.
And we socialized together?
Yes.
So we're friends?
Yes.
And as you worked on the case, can you tell the jurors what information you had access to that would allow you to continue with your investigation as a psychologist?
I had access to her clinical records. Many of that were discussed here. Emergency records, grand jury minutes. With the longitudinal nature of my evaluation, I had records from Brigham and Women's, South Shore, Spalding Hospital, and most recently, Tewksbury Hospital, which go back to, I believe, March 27th or so, 2023 till today.
How many times have you seen Lindsay since that day in January of 24?
So I've met with, 2023, I've met with Ms. Clancy over 45 times. Since then, And that was at the writing and the issuance of my report to Attorney Reddington. That was in the middle of June, and I've seen Ms. Clancy since then 20 times probably, or 15, inclusive of being in this courtroom and sometimes meeting with her in the holding unit.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in Tewksbury Hospital many of those times, right?
Yes.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in the lockup to this courthouse, correct?
Yes.
And she's been treated very well by everybody, the court officers, everybody, is that correct?
Objection. All this.
Yeah, that's sustained.
Well, you've had a chance to see her in the lockup, right?
Yes.
Why would,
No, overruled.
why would you see her in the lockup?
I would see Lindsay Clancy in lockup because the nature of presentation in this court has been gut-wrenching for anyone who would be exposed to such horrific.
Objection and move to strike. It's not responsive to the question.
Right. Can I see counsel here?
I'll withdraw it. Let me
All right, so that answer, ladies and gentlemen, that answer is stricken.
In
Okay?
Tewksbury Hospital, have you had to see her, to evaluate her, in addition to your testimony?
I don't know. This doesn't look. I'm not an attorney, but it does seem dicey that you are evaluating her for her state of mind at the time that she committed these murders, but also visiting her in lockup in a more treatment capacity, more of a treatment capacity than an evaluation capacity. I think that does not, I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's the optics are not good.
Testimony for
Listen, there's no doubt that testimony was difficult for Lindsay. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but I think there's a blurred line there that not even sure.
Sure.
Yes.
What?
Because the nature of mental health is something that's not a static or what we consider historical piece of information. Static information means a date of birth. That's never going to change. Dynamic issues are things that are subject to change, like the weather, like your health, like your mood. So to do an evaluation for a case that Ms. Clancy's involved in, which is a triple homicide case, requires an examiner to ensure that she's competent to stand trial and that her mental health is stable enough to be able to go forward with court proceedings.
Is there an additional component, and has there been an additional component of her suicidal ideation since she's been in custody at Brigham and Women's and then, of course, transferred years ago to Tewksbury?
Objection. Approach. Please.
Can I see counsel?
Always an interest to you. So, Doctor, while you're evaluating her, whether it be in Tewksbury or you're visiting with her here, her present state of mind is always an interest to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And in addition to all of the police reports, grand jury minutes, photographs, and things that you've described for us, sir, have you also had occasion to review all of the medical records without going through every one of them, dealing with Jennifer Tufts, Gelada, drugs that were prescribed to her, et cetera?
Yes.
Were you able to take a family history and a school history from Lindsay?
Yes.
Were you able to take a medical history from Lindsay?
Yes.
Were you concerned about her status as a woman who had recently had a child, Callan, in the spring of 2022?
Yes.
And what time frame was it that you were focusing on for purposes of your evaluation as to her mental state after having Callan, when she was postpartum?
The time frame started in roughly September 2022 through January 2023.
And during that period of time, you were aware that she had certain symptomology. Again, we could go through every single one of them, or we can just say, yes, she did express that she had symptomology. Here is the evidence. up to this point?
Yes, many times
And
to
did she see
other
doctors?
people.
Did she see doctors?
Yes,
Dr. Tufts?
yes,
Was that the first time that she was expressing anxiety and her concerns about insomnia and that she went to see Dr. Tufts and she was prescribed the SSRI?
yes.
Okay. July, June, August of 2022. What was her mood at that point?
Her mood was waxing and waning at times, but struggling as well in common sense ways. Having 3 children, ages 5 and under, not an easy task.
So in the fall of 2022, when she went to see Dr. Tufts, that's when she was prescribed the first SSRI.
Zoloft, yes.
And that would, and again, when she had the second baby, that would be Dawson.
Yes.
Did she have also indicia, symptomology of anxiety and the symptoms that she had described that she required that she had to be placed on some medication?
Yes, she did.
What was that medication?
I believe that was trazodone, if I'm not mistaken.
When she was in nursing school prior to that, was she placed on medication?
Yes, she was.
And that was because of public speaking nerves? What was the medication?
There were multiple medications. I believe it was propranolol, and I believe it may have been trazodone and Wellbutrin, but I'm not totally positive of that.
Do you recall that she was prescribed an SSRI when she was in nursing school?
Yes.
What was that?
That was Zoloft.
When she saw Dr. Tufts and she took the Zoloft, it was 25 milligrams initially, is that correct?
Yes.
Was it increased?
It was increased to 50 milligrams sometime later.
And
Yes.
how did she react to that?
She didn't take the medication initially. She waited a few weeks until she started on the lower dose.
So my question was, how did she react to the increase in the Zoloft?
Poorly.
What does that mean?
It was not a therapeutic uplift for her. She didn't do well. She didn't feel better. By all reports from Ms. Clancy, she did not get better.
How about sleeping? Did she have any complaints about sleeping?
Yes.
What was that?
Her insomnia got worse with the passage of time.
As September turned into October, it turns into November, around the time of Thanksgiving. Had she continued to seek help from medical health care providers?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Who did she seek to get help from?
Well, the initial person, I believe, was her mother-in-law, Sue Clancy, and who was a labor and delivery nurse who knew people.
Who did she see as a result of Sue Clancy?
I believe it was Julie Paul initially.
And what group was she affiliated with?
South Shore Perinatal Health.
Did Ms. Paul, nurse practitioner Paul, prescribe medication for her?
Yes.
And did she continue to deal with South Shore perinatal?
Yes.
When at some point did she stop dealing shortly, a short period of time, with nurse practitioner Paul?
Yes. Nurse Paul left.
And why was that?
She got a transferred position. It had nothing to do with her patient load or.
So she was transferred.
She was transferred.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a short period of time, she was transferred. Who was the next person that she dealt with?
Rebecca Gelada.
Did Rebecca Gelada have a particular position? Was she a nurse practitioner?
Yes.
And how long did she deal with Rebecca Gelada?
3 appointments.
And during that period of time with Rebecca Gelada, was she prescribed medication?
Yes.
What was the medication?
I believe it was Seroquel.
How did she react to that?
Poorly.
And as time went by, going into the holiday season, Thanksgiving, do you recall what her symptomology and complaints were to the healthcare providers at that point, whether it be Tufts or Gelada, anybody?
Yes.
What were they?
She had many concerns about her health. She wasn't feeling well. She felt out of touch with herself. She felt numb. She experienced disassociation.
All right, stop right there. What is disassociation?
Disassociation is a psychological construct that means you feel removed from your body. You don't feel in touch with your body. You feel different than the way you normally do. You look back at your life and you say, something is wrong with me. I'm not feeling the way I normally do.
Did she express, for example, when the jurors looked at the medical records on November 27th of 2022 to nurse practitioner Gelada, that she felt that she was out of her body and that she had a disassociated state?
Yes, and that's sometimes known as a depersonalization. You feel removed from your body. You feel removed. You feel as if you are not in your full body.
Now, at that time, was she also complaining of other symptoms? And to cut to the chase, was she saying that she could not emote, she couldn't feel love, she couldn't feel happiness, she felt heavy,
Yeah.
she couldn't walk, she couldn't bathe, she had difficulty relating to people? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. She couldn't get out of the bed. She had total flattened affect.
Did she then seek additional help?
Yes.
Where?
She went to the, I believe, the emergency room initially at South Shore to go to Mass General.
Look, I don't this witness is, we already know this stuff. We've been over her treatment ad nauseum. who she saw, when she saw them, what they prescribed, if anything, all the things. You've been through this. This does not help. As Hockett says, I mean, she's not 100% guilty if she wasn't taking her meds, correct? Well, here's the thing about that. With respect to the medications, what they were trying to do is establish a diagnosis. And their initial diagnosis was general anxiety and depression. And so this is not like a situation where you have somebody like, say, Rob Reiner's son, who had an established diagnosis and a prescribed medication, and then he didn't take his medication, and then the murder is the result, right? This is not that, because they were in the phases of diagnosing and getting her on the right medication at the right time. The point, I think, of them talking about the Commonwealth pointing out the medication that was prescribed and the amount is because when the prescriptions were collected, it would appear that she wasn't taking them correctly. So their theory is that she wasn't actually truly seeking help if she wasn't even taking the medication correctly.
And did they prescribe additional medication for her?
I believe they did, yes.
Did she make any expressions to her treating physicians up to this point about what in her opinion, what the medications were doing to her?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said she was in a brain fog. They were the medication.
Also, so the defense's point is that the medications caused this. Which, how can medications you're not taking and not taking correctly cause anything?
Were making things worse. They were not helping. They were not helping her.
Now, as that time went on into the period of Thanksgiving up to around Christmas, did she continue to reach out to people for help, such as suicide hotlines?
Yes, she reached out to.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Why did she call a suicide hotline?
She was worried about killing herself.
And did she get any help from the suicide hotline?
She was turned away.
How about the second time she called the suicide hotline?
She was turned away.
How about when she went to the Women and Infants program in Rhode Island?
They told her she was not a good fit for the program.
Why?
Because she was overly medicated.
And did she continue to seek help from healthcare providers?
Yes.
And what was the next thing that happened as far as dealing with healthcare providers for Lindsay in her postpartum stage?
She went to the Mass General Emergency Room.
What happened there?
On 12:30, she said she needed to go to the hospital. She was at the emergency room. She was sent to McLean Hospital in Belmont. It's a Harvard-affiliated hospital.
Now, that McLean Hospital, when you say was sent to, they're to say that even though they had to transport her, it was a voluntary commitment?
Yes.
And what was her state of mind that caused her to have a voluntary commitment to the locked wards of McLean Hospital?
She was worried about killing herself, and she uttered concerns about killing her children.
How about, did she relate any intrusive thoughts and dark thoughts, things of that nature during this period of time, October, November, December?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
She said she had, quote, horrible thoughts, unquote. She felt that people could actually hear her thoughts. The thoughts were so loud that strangers could hear them.
Did she express at that point, for example, that she was concerned about school teachers with the Little Sprouts school with the kids, that they could read her thoughts and that she would lose custody?
Yes, it's called ideas of reference. You believe other people can hear what you're thinking, and that can have a very negative interpretation for the person believing that, feeling that, and thinking that the outcome is going to be a negative one, that their children may be relieved from their care.
Now, as it relates to the concept of psychosis, can you tell me in 25 words or less what a psychosis is?
A psychosis is what's considered a major mental health disorder. It's when people have disorganized thinking, and the symptoms most typically are hallucinations. There are different types of hallucinations. 80% of people with psychoses hear voices. There are different types of voices that one can hear. Benign, get a glass of water. Benevolent, you're a good person, keep it up. Or malevolent, threatening them, telling them, ordering them to do something horrible, and you believe those voices.
Now, during that period of time, when she got out of the McLean Hospital, what medication was she titrating or getting off of?
I believe she's getting off the Seroquel.
Was she able to do that?
Yes.
Relating back to November 27th with the dissociative state, is that an indicia, is that an indication or a harbinger of psychosis?
Yes.
And is a psychosis, is that something that somebody would be suffering from a psychosis for a month at a time, 2 months at a time, or is that short periods, or how does that work?
People with psychoses have intermittent symptoms. They can function fine one day, and the next day they can be hearing voices. They could be seeing things, feeling things, smelling things. To be clear, those additional types of hallucinations did not plague Ms. Clancy. She only had auditory hallucinations. But hallucinations are like the waves at the beach. They come and go.
They're called waxing and waning?
Yes.
And would you tell me, doctor, in your opinion, is an individual, and we refer to postpartum psychosis, is that a particular affliction that afflicts women that have had babies and they go through a period of postpartum depression and then ultimately postpartum psychosis?
Yes.
Can you tell us, is a person, even if they are in the throes of psychosis, are they able to make a phone call?
Yes, they can.
Are they able to drive a car?
Yes.
Are they able to say, hi, Hawaii, I'd like to have a hot dog?
Yes.
They don't have to look at the unicorn in the corner, right?
That's correct.
Mr. Rigg, it's 4 o'clock. Just good time to.
Sure.
All right. So, members of the jury, we're going to.
All right, so that's it for today. And then they're going to resume tomorrow with more direct testimony. So maybe it's going to get better. But at this point, I am not convinced. I don't know where this is going. So, yeah, I'm not sure where this is going at all. And I don't know. I got to say, I know it's only the beginning of the testimony, but I'm not impressed. There are serious issues. There's serious issues, and I have some questions. Now, to be fair, of course, direct is not completed yet, but what I'm interested in is, did he perform his own evaluation? Did he use the MMPI? And then administer the MMPI and then evaluate the answers? I mean, you spent a lot of time with her. And yet, for whatever reason, it's unclear to me at this time, Mr. Reddington is choosing to continue to go over information that the jury already has. And it's not like he's going over the information that the jury already has with respect to the medications or meanings of, definitions of words, etc., and really giving any new information that is going to be helpful to the jury in determining whether or not she was psychotic. Now, as it relates to what Jonah's mom in the chat said about we only have her word that she is hearing voices, that's how it would be for anybody. Nobody else can get inside your head and determine if you're hearing voices or not. If Jonah's mom, if you reported to me that you're hearing voices, would have no way of knowing whether you truly are or not, right? But what would be helpful in knowing that is if you're reporting that you're hearing voices and you're evaluated using the MMPI, which I'm absolutely not qualified to give, right? And then based on that, they make a determination as to whether you're malingering or not. But it's his testimony that she's not malingering. So I don't know. I mean, he is, Crazy Mama said he's drilling her mental health in their heads. He is, but not in a way that is going to be ultimately helpful to the jury. Harlan Oscara says, I wonder if Reddington is going to put on a short case, just refreshing the jury's memory on a few things. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, I don't see how that would be helpful to the jury. I don't see how that proves that she was in a state of psychosis. I mean, the thing that he asked at the end there, the last question, was helpful to the jury, that people who are in a state of psychosis can do things that that aren't evident of psychosis, right? Like making a phone call. That is, you know, that they are capable of doing that. That's important. But I'm with you, Melissa. Melissa said he sold this guy during openings. I hope tomorrow he brings it. Same. That's where I'm at. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all in the morning for the continuation of direct examination. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Thank you to the mods. I will be live at the usual time, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern. You guys have a great rest of your night. I am going to go to bed. It's been a long day. All right, y'all take care, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.